All right. Look at this crew in here. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to boot camp. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here in just one moment. Oh, we got a San Diego person here. I love it. What's up? Good to see you. Welcome to boot camp, everybody. Welcome. Let's hear. We got Sean. Awesome. Stacy. Charles and Linda. KL, what's up? John. Awesome. The Wow Report. John White. There we go. Lisa. Elena. Very good. Sasha. Eric. Kim. Jennifer. Dwayne Palmer. Sasha again. Awesome. And it's Carlesia. I hope I'm saying that right. Very pretty. Nice name. Beautiful. Steve. Mr. Robert Brennan. Columbia, the Good, the Beautiful, and More. Awesome. Sam Ware. Very good. Awesome. I know I am running. There's Brian. Awesome. Welcome, Brian. I know I'm running a couple of minutes late here, gang. I apologize. Anytime we launch these things new, we end up, we get a lot of last minute shenanigans and stuff. And that's Orlando. Awesome. We get a lot of, last minute trying to scramble and figure out access for people and stuff like that. So please, let me, if you'll, in fact, just give me just a couple more minutes. If you would please be patient, I would appreciate it. We will get, interesting. It looks like circle. So to confuse things even further, it looks like circle may be down or at least, yep. So there are people that are trying to get into circle and get the links and it is down. And so that is causing problems. Let's see here. Affiliate, how long until I receive the sign up? Hold on, Brett. Hang on 1 second. Let me get you the links. Sorry, gang. Just like I said, if you can just give me one moment here, I just want to make sure that everybody who's trying to get in here can get in here. Yeah, a circle is down, which does not help our cause at all at this point. But, that is the way it goes. All right, hang on 1 second here, gang. Just going to send some people. Okay. Oops. Yeah, circle is currently down. There we go. Man, thank goodness for a high level that I can quickly see all these inbound requests and get back to people. There you go. Jeff, sorry. Okay, I think I've got everybody for now, and I'm going to just make sure I am set up to kind of keep an eye on things on the side here real quick. And also I'm going to get a member of the team to just keep an eye on things for the next 15 minutes or so, just to make sure that we are catching anybody that comes in here. All right, so just one more second, gang. I promise will not be too much longer here, and we will get the show on the road. Happy Tuesday to all. Let's see here. Here is direct to watch today's training call. All right. We're like NORAD up in here. We got monitors on monitors and iPads standing up and things recording everywhere. This is a serious operation, folks. All right, let me just take one last. Okay, welcome to boot camp, everybody. How is sound? How is are we looking good, sounding good, all that good stuff? We doing okay? I'm using my desktop mic again today because I believe I'll just be staring into the screen the whole time. I don't think I'm going to be moving around a bunch. So hopefully we are good to go. Just let me know, though. Just give me a little thumbs up if so. A-okay, says Christy. Awesome. Charles Linda, awesome. Charles Linda, I'm jealous of your trip. Looks like you're having fun. Okay, today and tomorrow, we are going to be focused on, hey, what's up, Patrick? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, my man. There's Dorn. Awesome. Today, we're going to be focused on filling the pipeline, and specifically, really an emphasis on that top of pipeline and getting that as big and broad and full as we possibly can, okay? I decided to do this for a couple of reasons. One, as I have mentioned in previous calls, that I wanted to adjust the Moguls call schedule so that we could go more deep on specific topics that I feel like are the critical topics to grow your business and be able to really, give them the time and attention that they deserve rather than the shorter, more frequent calls. So that is, structurally what we're doing here in terms of this 2-day bootcamp approach. And then the second reason why I decided to do this one is just, observing the community. It is still, I believe, the number one issue for just about everybody in the agency space that is preventing the kind of growth that you want. And I would say maybe tied for number one. Number one, we'll call it a tie. If you do not have your products set properly so that you have the margins and recurring revenue, then it won't matter too much what you do anywhere else, okay? That being said, if you do not have the ability to get attention and constantly grow your pipeline of opportunities, and I don't necessarily mean just the opportunities as in, hey, I have these 3 customers ready to close in the next 30 days. And in fact, I really don't, we're going to talk about those for sure, because I understand, of course, we want to drive, all the way down the funnel, but I'm really much more concerned about what is happening up top in the funnel. Okay. And the kind of third thing that drove this was reading this article from, I can't remember now if it was a HubSpot executive or who it was, but somebody, very prominent in selling SaaS and selling SaaS to small businesses. And this article was talking about the number one metric that they have learned to base their business on in terms of growth is what they call sales velocity. Lead velocity. Okay, lead velocity. So what they mean by lead velocity are the number of qualified leads that you have in your pipeline growing, and are they growing at a pace that is at least as fast of a pace as you want your sales to grow, or greater, and ideally greater, right? And significantly greater. They were saying that if they're trying to grow 10% per month, then they want their lead velocity to be 20% per month, So they are measuring that for a couple reasons that I think are really, really important for everybody in this industry to understand. And it's been my absolute experience that this is the case in everything that I've done as well, is that one, your lead velocity directly translates to sales, right? So it is absolutely the case that if you have many more people in your pipeline, and again, qualified leads, if you have many more qualified leads in your pipeline, you are going to have an easier time generating more sales. Okay? Everything about your business becomes easier when you have that bigger top of funnel pipeline. And this is particularly true of service companies. When I say that your business becomes easier, it is particularly true of service companies because in service companies, it is absolutely critical at all times that you do everything you can to only bring on the best customers. And what I mean by that is that if I'm just selling you this book, I really don't care too much who you are. And, I mean, I guess there could be some concern for, are you a person who's likely to refund, right? But that's pretty much it. Otherwise, just buy the dang book and enjoy your book, or don't. I don't care, right? In a service business, there is a relationship that is ongoing between you and your customer, where to at least some extent you are reliant upon each other to perform. And when I say reliant upon each other to perform, I mean in communication with each other, in working within expectations of using the tools and campaigns and things that have been provided for you, right? So if you're working with those customers, and we've all worked with those customers, where they, you set everything up for them and you do everything you can to help them, and then they just won't help themselves, right? They won't follow through on things. They, won't communicate to you so that you know how you can help them, things like that. It's incredibly difficult to run a successful, profitable service business if you have too many customers like that. It just eats away at your margin. It just really does. Paul says, yep. Hey, Joe, welcome. And if you're brand new in the business and you have not experienced those customers yet, well, good for you, but you're going to, so just expect it. But the more opportunities you have up here in your pipeline, the more comfortable you are as a service provider saying no to the wrong customers, right? You get to a point at your business, and in this business, just like my IT services business as well, it's not really that many new customers. When you sign on like 5 new customers a month, you're pretty much at that point where you're like, I don't really need to sign on any more customers. And so if I'm going to sign on a new customer, I really want it to be a great fit and a great opportunity. Or you're in a fantastic position to say, hey, number 6 customer, we are so excited to work with you, but because we've hit our onboarding capacity for this month, we're going to go ahead and get you started next month, right? When you're in that position to kind of have that patience and be able to push a deal, back a little bit, to have a start date that's just a little bit postponed so you don't overwhelm your team, overwhelm your systems, get behind on things, and you can make sure that you're actually working with the right people, your business is totally different. Everything about your business changes. Your mindset changes, your sense of control changes, your sense of valuing your time and what you're willing to do or not do for a customer totally changes. Everything changes for the better. But that is incredibly hard to do if you need to get 5 new customers every month to hit your targets and you only have 6 good prospects in your pipeline, right? It's really hard to have that kind of negotiating leverage, even just with yourself, just mentally, to have the confidence of, you know what, I'm only going to take the best deals. Well, there's only 6 of them there and I need 5, right, to pay the bills. That's a bad situation to be in. So although, yes, we want those bottom of pipeline opportunities and we want them to close and all that good stuff. It is actually the top of the pipeline that I think is causing most people to have the struggles down here, because most are working in too much of a vacuum. You're working in obscurity. You're not getting your name out there. You're not filling that top of funnel pipeline. So we want to focus on that sales velocity, that lead velocity, excuse me, and get that number cranking. Okay. And that's what this is all about. Okay. Everything here will be recorded and all the recordings provided to you. It's being streamed to YouTube right now. So the recording will be immediately available. It will also be provided inside of a membership area for you. And inside of that membership area, I'm also going to put copies of the presentation slides I'm going to put you through, resources, things like that. If you are already in my high leverage agency, or R4 and things like that, you will already have a lot of these resources that I'm going to share, so you can decide whether or not you want to go re-downloading things if it's easier to find them through this or something like that. Then you can feel free, but again, you will recognize or should at least recognize these resources. Okay, so that's what the 2 days are all about here. I have booked the time on my calendar. I want to make sure that I am here to answer questions and things like that. I will keep the circle space that I set up specifically for this up and running for the next 30 days to make sure that we can have any kind of follow-on conversation in there. And if I need to do like some sort of follow-up Q&A call on any of this, then I absolutely will. My goal from this bootcamp is that you are going to immediately take action coming out of here, so that if you are guilty of, hey, I'm not doing enough to fill my opportunity pipeline, and I know it, that you commit to a process of taking care of that, and that you take step one as soon as we're done here, and then you just keep on going. Okay, that's the dream for me. And I'm going to do my best to make things as simple as possible. I know that I am guilty in my training and my products of probably including too much. And I know that that can be overwhelming. And I am going to do my absolute damnedest to create consolidated versions of things where you can have all of the Mike Cooch MBA backup training to go along with it as well. So if you want the, some of the more depth and the why behind it, you can go access that. But I also want to give you just a very consolidated, concise version of do these things in this order, and you're going to start seeing your life improved, okay, and your business improve. So that all being said, I think you guys generally know how this works. You can post questions in the comments, and then later on here, I will post the invite link if anybody wants to come on camera and have any sort of conversation with me, okay? Charles and Linda says, in our transition, we want to fill our pipeline with customers and get away from full service clients. Yes. The money is good, but life is too short at this point for full service. Yes, it is. You have too many things you guys are interested in and want to do. And the money is better, I promise you, when you build your business around recurring revenue customers and not clients. The money is better. It may not seem better at first because there is a transition. I'm used to signing these $30,000 projects, right? And Mike's telling me to sign a $397 customer. And that can seem painful at first, and it requires commitment. But I promise you that when you have $397 customers stacked up, and every single month it just hits their credit card and boom, 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 you get paid, you have a dramatically different life than when you have $30,000 project clients that you are chasing your tail around for. It's just a dramatically better business, okay? Better money, I promise. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm going to provide you guys these customer workbooks as well, day 1 and day 2. The goal here, 3 goals of the attention engine. The attention engine, I know there's a lot of new people here, so welcome to all the new folks. If you're not familiar, the attention engine is my language for all of the marketing that happens to get attention with your target audience and start pulling them to you. Okay. So that's the attention engine. Number one, it's got to get attention. Number two, it helps us build our brand when we do it effectively. And building what I call our first position relationship. The first position relationship is what I refer to when I say that we want a prospect to think of us first when it comes to X, right? I want people in the agency community to think of me first when they think of who should I turn to for help in building a business around high level, right? I want them to think of me first. That would be, I have first position with them, okay? So we all want first position in our marketplaces. That's the ultimate goal of marketing, right? Is to have that trusted position at the top of the hierarchy of all the competition. That business is always the business that does the best. Okay, and then number three is to grow our pipeline, to get those prospects in there and get predictability in our sales. What this will not do, very important, particularly for any new folks who are with me. My existing folks can tell you I am not the shortcut guy. I'm not the easy button guy. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you this is a magic hack, and if you'll just do this, you're going to be printing money. It's going to be falling from the sky. You're not going to see pictures of me holding up hundreds, to taunt you with my money. I think I did do one YouTube cover that is me holding money, but it was like a cartoonish one. It was meant to be funny. Hopefully people got that. Anyway, it takes work, okay? It takes work to grow your business. I am all about leverage. That is a name of my business and my brand, Leverage, LVRG. So we want to look for things that get us the greatest results with the least amount of effort and investment. But I have yet to figure out anything that doesn't require some work, okay? So over the course of this journey here, the goal is to build and launch our attention engine, and specifically these three components: an outbound prospecting component, content marketing, and ads. Okay, and that may sound like a lot and a lot to cover in 2 days, but as I said, what I'm going to do is do my very best to give you the simple start here, do this, and then for the next 30 days, 90 days after you leave here, have the plan to continue to execute on. Okay, I want to start with some core beliefs. Yeah, where's my Lambo? I want to start with some core beliefs that are really important. I think that, and I said in my email promoting this bootcamp to you guys, one of those emails was about the most common mistakes that I see people making that are preventing them from doing what's necessary to really fill their pipeline with opportunities. And so I think it is absolutely critical that we do our best collectively as a group to get on the same page about how we need to think about our business and investing in growth in our business, and what are some of the metrics around that so that we can understand the reality of the marketplace. I see so many people that try something and then quit very quickly. And the only explanation I can possibly understand as to why they would quit so quickly is that they went into it just simply with the wrong mindset to begin with. And so they expected things to happen faster or more easily. And then when they didn't, they got discouraged and stopped. And they're stopping before they ever even have a chance at success if you understand how this business works and what our mindset and beliefs need to be around it. So first is that if they don't know you, they can't buy from you. Okay, this is just some common sense, but if they don't know you, they can't buy from you. We have to have attention in the marketplace. Our name has to be out there. And even though it sounds like this should be just totally common sense, especially when speaking with a bunch of marketing people, I see too many marketing agencies taking the approach of, well, I should just be able to send this laser targeted message to these handful of people and then get the response that I need to get a customer. And that is like in violation of this. Like, they don't know you. You're only sending your message to a very small handful of people. And the odds that somebody in that small handful of people is just going to hear your message and jump out of their seat and go, yep, I'm ready to buy from you, is absolutely slim. So we've got to get their attention. And if we expect to grow, and this goes to our lead velocity metric that I referred to earlier, if we expect to grow, we have to constantly expand the depth and the breadth of that attention that we have with our target audience, right? We have got to get more people knowing about us, and ideally get those people thinking about us and aware of us more often, so that, again, we are that first position in their mind, so that they are defaulting to thinking about us when they're thinking about, hey, who do I turn to help me with X? Okay. This one is also, I think, really important in general for people to understand, but it's really important when it comes to the overall strategy that we're going to pursue here, which is pull is greater than push in today's world. Pull is greater than push. And what I mean by that is that inbound marketing, letting people come to us because we have put out some sort of lure, magnet, bait, whatever we want to call it, to pull people to us, is a better model of marketing in today's world than doing the outbound push, right? Doing the cold call, and I'm going to interrupt you and try and get your attention and get a conversation with you. Okay. Now, I say here, but we'll use push if and when we need to, because I have certainly personally moved away from doing push marketing, but I understand its value and its role. I did nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. I did almost nothing but push marketing for a long time. And then I discovered good old Dan Kennedy, and Dan Kennedy's magnetic marketing was like this real turning point in my brain where I went, oh, this just makes so much sense. If I can use content and information to pull people to me, then that sets me up in a totally different way and allows me to create these assets that are out there working on my behalf, right? So we need to work within the realities of the world. And the realities of the world are that customers are in much more control of the sales cycle now, because they have information, they have access to just about anything and everything about your company and your competition and all that good stuff. And they decide when they want to respond to something, right? So pull is greater than push, but we will push if we need to. And in fact, that will be the first strategy that we'll cover in this boot camp, which will be doing outbound marketing. And finally here, it is a process and you must commit to it. Okay. This is the single most important thing to focus on to create growth at your business. It's not how good your services are. You want to have good services. Okay. You absolutely want to have good services. You want to do a bang up job for your customers. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying here, but I am saying that even if you do a bang up job for your customers, if you have not absolutely committed to building a sales and marketing engine at your business, you are not going to grow the way that you want to in this industry. Your referrals, your word of mouth will just not keep up with the churn that you'll experience from customers that go out of business or quit your services or whatever. You will get to a point where you will just stall unless you have that aggressive aggressive sales and marketing strategy to create those leads for you and create that lead velocity that you need. But you have to commit to it. You have to understand it is a process. This is not a one and done. This is not, I'm setting up an awesome, funnel or campaign one time and then just letting it, go. Like, that is not the way that this works. Let me just see here. Hold on one second here, gang. I have somebody trying to open my front door. I'm assuming it's one of my children, but let me just check because they have stopped halfway. It was my child and not a burglar. Thank goodness I'm safe. Um, so this is not a one and done. There is no magic funnel. There is no magic ad. There is no magic script. Okay. That you're just going to install, and then growth is going to be taken care of from now until eternity at your business. That is not the way it works. And we have to be realistic about the fact that it's a process and you have to commit to it. Okay. So, those are major, just core beliefs we need to have going into this to make sure that we have the best chance at success. Core strategies then. First one, good old Peter Drucker here. The aim of marketing is to make selling unnecessary. The aim of marketing is to make selling unnecessary. The way that I, and I think most others interpret this, is that if you understand your customers well enough, and if you understand, or if you communicate to them well enough in terms of, showing that you do understand and showing that you have a solution that can help them with the things that are causing them pain, then selling becomes virtually unnecessary, right? That if you are doing a good enough job presenting yourself out there in the world with those messages, then those customers are going to be pre-sold on you largely before they ever get to the point of you having to do much selling. And I think that you all, I'm assuming everybody here has experienced this. I think if you think about it, you've all experienced this, right? That there is some brand out there that before you ever bought from them, you knew 100% that you were going to buy from them. Like you wanted to buy from them. You had convinced yourself already, this is the thing for me, right? And that's because their marketing had been so effective that you were already sold. And I think the easy example, for a lot of sports car enthusiasts or fashion enthusiasts or whatever, right? Is that you see that perfect, car or that perfect purse or, whatever it is. And you've been dreaming of being able to buy one of those, right? No salesperson is going to have to sell you on anything for that because you are pre-sold, because their marketing, their branding, the way that they've positioned themselves in the marketplace, they've done such a nice job. Now, that is, Christy says pre-sold on Apple. Same here, Christy. Anything that Apple makes, I'm a buyer, right? Totally pre-sold. They come out with a car tomorrow, I'll buy a damn Apple car. They launch a hotel tomorrow, I'll stay at the Apple hotel. In selling services, you are selling the intangible. Okay. One of the best books out there ever on selling services is, isn't it called Selling the Invisible, right? Selling the Invisible. You are selling something that is intangible, something that's invisible, something that's hard for people to see and go, ooh, I really want that thing. I really want that Porsche. Look at how pretty the paint is and the colors and the sexiness of the curves and all that stuff, right? They can't say that so much about your services. So the way that we typically have, figured out, the way that we have to pre-sell them is through content. Okay, and Seth Godin said content marketing is all the marketing that's left, right? The way that we can pre-sell them is on content. And the content doesn't even necessarily have to be specifically about our solution. Although when you can make it about your solution and you can demonstrate your solution and stuff like that, that's fantastic. But it does not always have to be about our solution. It can be just demonstrating that we have the knowledge and the understanding to help somebody, right? So we can write an article about the 7 strategies to grow your business this year, and if it's a good article, then that automatically creates some trust and some belief that transfers to, okay, whatever solution or service you're going to end up selling me is actually going to be a good fit because I see that you have that knowledge and expertise to really be able to help me. So content is this critical piece of this puzzle that, again, if we're going to fill that top of pipeline with people who are aware of us and people who are being drawn to us because it seems that we can help them with their problems, content is the most valuable thing that we can create to help us do that. Okay? So that is a core strategy. So the result of this is these three core strategies. Number one, invest in content more than salespeople. Okay? I'm not saying that you shouldn't eventually invest in salespeople, and certainly salespeople will, a good salesperson will make you more money than not having that salesperson. That's for darn sure. But I think the order of how we grow our business in today's world has changed, or the scale of investment has changed, in that we should be investing more in content and creation of content than we should in salespeople. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why. The most obvious ones: salespeople are super expensive. They are super hard to train, super hard to manage. They have a very high failure rate. Okay. But then perhaps the most important thing is that if you invest all of that time and energy and money into a salesperson, then when that salesperson quits, you're out, you're done. You don't have, there was no asset value for you there, right? That human being is not an asset for you the day that they leave. Okay. Versus if you create content and you have that content out there working on your behalf, it is an asset that is accumulating, it's growing in value over time. Okay. If I do nothing on my YouTube channel, I get 20,000 views a month of people watching almost entirely videos of me talking about how to use high level to build an agency. Okay. 20,000 views every single month from those handful of videos that I put up there. They are incredible assets that are working for me without me having to invest anything additional, without having to manage them, without having to pay them huge commissions, anything like that, right? So investing in content, this is why HubSpot, right? HubSpot has famously invested huge amounts of money in their content so that they have their hooks all over the internet, right? Pulling people in. If you search for, whatever templates, best ad templates for small businesses, you're probably going to get a HubSpot thing that pulls up, right? So they've done just this incredible job of putting all of these assets out there and investing a lot of money and time and energy in doing that. Number two, investing in adding value over selling. Okay, again, if we go back to Peter Drucker's quote, rather than just focusing on transactions and hammering people on, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? If we are focused instead on the majority of our time being spent just trying to add value, how can we help you understand how to grow your business better and the things that you could be doing, and how can we help you realize that you could be doing better at your business and making more money, right? Anything that we can share to help them, to add value, that then positions us as that expert and that trusted advisor, then positions us to earn that sale before the sales process has ever happened, right? We're doing it through our marketing. And then number three, automate as much as possible. Almost all of you are, very small businesses, have limited resources. Some of you are doing this part-time, all that type of stuff. One of the biggest challenges in filling your pipeline is that you just literally are not spending enough time on it, right? And so we've got to take advantage of automation wherever we can so that the time becomes less of a factor and that we can consistently be out there doing that prospecting, even though we are limited on time and we are limited on resources. My approach to all this, I call it VIP sales and marketing. VIP stands for value, interest, positioning, and proof. Okay, value, interest, positioning, and proof. We want to be in our sales and marketing process focused on adding value, showing that we are interested in our prospects and their problems, and also being interesting as well, positioning ourselves as experts and as trusted advisors, and showing proof that we know what we're talking about. Okay. If we are focused on those things in our sales and marketing at all times, our sales and marketing will win. I promise you. All right. And then 3 areas of focus in terms of your sales and marketing approach. Not that we're going to go into all of these in this training session, but content, connection, and collaboration. Okay, content, connection, and collaboration, particularly when you're selling to small businesses. I think these are all critical. You need that content out there working on your behalf to create scalability. Doing what you can to create connection to your community, and that can be, doing lunch and learns. That can be hosting events. Many of you know I'm hosting events here in San Diego again and stuff like that. So doing things like that to try and bring people together. And then collaboration, just demonstrating that you are working with your customer to try and get them the best result of their business instead of just selling them a thing, right? Remembering that it is a relationship, and that relationship needs to, be a win-win over time, so that the relationship sticks and doesn't churn. Okay. So we're going to use content, even if you're thinking about just making a cold call or sending a cold email or whatever it is, it's content, right? So we're going to use content throughout this entire process, and matching the content to the where the prospect is in their journey of making a decision, right? And typically, you'll see this broken down in many different ways, but awareness, evaluation, decision, right? Awareness of we have a problem, awareness of there are some solutions out there, evaluation of those solutions, evaluating different providers, things like that, and then finally making a decision. And we want to have content that will help in each of those various stages. Okay. This is an approach that, to say it's new, it's not so much new, but it's, because HubSpot's been around. They pioneered this concept of inbound marketing. What is it, a dozen years ago now or so, something like that. But it has definitely become much more accessible to all of us now, and much more easy to execute now because of all the amazing tools like High Level that we have. So by taking this approach, though, we can get that scalability and consistency that we need to make sure that we are constantly expanding that top of funnel. We can do it with cost control instead of hiring expensive sales teams. Focus on value instead of selling. And that gets us fans instead of customers. Gets people who, again, through our marketing are already bought into us, already see us as a valuable resource before they've ever spent any money with us. And that's a fantastic position to be in, right? And then finally, differentiation. Okay. If I have to make one more pitch as to why you have to do things this way, it's because you guys have a lot of competition that have access to the same high-level software platform, right? So if you are just out there focused on the selling of the software, or even the selling of a system around the software, if you've bought into my approach and you're following it, if you are just focused on that transaction, it is almost impossible for you to have any sort of differentiation in the marketplace, right? There are thousands of other, how many customers does High Level have now? It's a huge number, and it's growing very quickly. And the far majority of them, unfortunately, have this mindset of, oh, I should just be able to hang out my shingle and sell the software, and it's going to kind of sell itself. And they're just focused on those technical aspects, on features, and on price, and on the transaction of making a sale. They aren't investing in building any sort of brand, any sort of authority, any sort of big broad base of people who know who they are and what they have to offer. And that means that there's almost no differentiation from them to anybody else in the marketplace, okay? You have to invest in this top of pipeline if you want anybody to be able to have a reason to pay attention to you versus the competition, right? If you are the one who's educating me, if you are the one sharing resources with me, sharing valuable information with me, and you haven't sold me a thing yet, and I'm a small business owner and I'm struggling to get ahead and I'm struggling to make ends meet, and I've been paying attention to your newsletter and reading your posts and all that type of stuff for the last 4 months, And the other people in the industry are not doing that. They're not putting that content out there. When it comes to the time to buy something, there is a dramatically higher chance that I'm going to buy from you because you've already established yourself. You have this differentiation in my mind. And that is ultimately, if you're going to win in business, that is a must. It is an absolute must. So there is not a case for doing it a different way. Kim says, love this. That's awesome. Thank you, Kim. There's not a good case for doing this a different way. And so again, this goes to these core beliefs and core strategies and mindset that you've got to have in order to be successful. Okay. So, oh yeah, Carly said, yeah, absolutely. I would love to have you come to the parties for sure. And Brittany, I'm not hosting lunch and learns yet. Right around the corner, Brittany, right around the corner. Okay, Paul says, is differentiation the messaging, the packaging? It's all the above, Paul. It's all the above. But I think that my favorite definition of a brand is the experience that someone has associated with you or your business, right? The emotional experience that somebody has associated with your business. Okay, that's the best definition I've heard of branding. Okay, so we were talking about this earlier about Christy being pre-sold on Apple. Christy has an emotional experience associated with Apple. I do too. I love their product. I feel smart. I feel sophisticated, whatever it is, using their products. Versus, my clunky old PC computer that looks all ugly. And I know that they don't look that way anymore, but that's, that's my mindset now of the difference between Apple and PCs. Dell has beautiful computers now, which is why Dell is killing it as a company again. But we get this emotional experience associated with a business. And you all know, whether it's me or whatever other expert you follow, in this business or in other areas of your life, right? These people in these businesses that even if you haven't bought anything from them yet, you have developed this sense of goodwill and trust with them that is different than the rest of the marketplace, right? They all have thousands and thousands of competitors. Everybody does in today's world, right? But there are those people or those brands that are adding value in the way that they're marketing and the communication and the education and all that, those experiences that they're creating for you, that you have a different emotional connection to them than you do others. That is our goal, Paul. That's really what we're trying to do. And in selling to businesses, that can be a little bit tough, and especially you're selling software and business services, what's the emotion behind that? And so we have to do our best in our messaging to address our prospects in a way that will actually create some emotional connection to them, right? And so, as an example with small businesses, some of the best ways of doing this are acknowledging how hard it is for them, acknowledging their struggle, acknowledging that they are the backbone of America and that they don't get enough credit for it. Right. And doing that in the way that you market and the way that you communicate to them, will create that differentiated connection in their mind, that differentiated emotional experience. Okay. And that's a whole thing, right? Branding and all that good stuff is really beyond the scope of this boot camp, but it is something that is smart to pay attention to and try and be thoughtful about your approach. Okay. So metrics and mindset, moving a little bit from, we're going from beliefs to, I want to start getting into some more tactical here so that we really understand the challenges of selling our services to small businesses so that we can make sure that then the things that we do every day are set up properly to meet those challenges head on. Okay. So you guys are all familiar with the sales and marketing cycle. And you'll see this presented in all kinds of different ways. This is just the way that I've always done it in my head, and it's stuck. Know, like, trust, try, buy. Okay, these are these phases that somebody goes through. They have to first know who we are, then they develop some sort of affinity, right? Just I like simple words, so like. They have to like us enough to say, yeah, I'm going to continue to pay attention to you. Whatever you said, whatever you're offering is enough that I'm going to continue to give you my attention. Okay? Then building trust with them. So it's not just that we have their attention, but that we are actually creating that connection with them where they see us as a trusted resource. Okay? And then finally, at some point or another, they are willing to try us. Okay? Now, depending on your sales approach, a try could be like a free trial, right? So that's literally like the best, that's like the closest version of try, I guess, a definition of try in this business, right? If you had a free trial, they could literally try your services. But you don't necessarily have to have a free trial for them to get to this stage, right? There's a point where your prospects are investing enough time and energy from you because it's their intention to try and buy from you. They may end up not buying from you. They may end up deciding to go with a competitor, but they're in that final stage of making that decision. I consider that the try stage, right? And then buy, and they become a customer, okay? The language that I use and that you'll hear many times over again is I call these people suspects. So when we're targeting people with Facebook ads that don't know us, but we're going after chiropractors, and Facebook lets me choose these people who are chiropractors in San Diego, right? I call those people suspects. They look like people who should be interested in our services potentially, but I don't know anything about them other than what Facebook just told me, and they probably don't know who I am at all. I just call them suspects, okay? And then there's leads, okay? Leads are people who have, to some degree or another, raised their hand and said, yes, what you're saying is resonating with me, right? They clicked on an ad, they've read the piece of content, and ideally, they have opted into something, right? Now they're on your newsletter list, but it may just be that they're on a retargeting list and a retargeting audience, but they've taken a next step, right? So theoretically, if we were advertising to 100% of chiropractors in San Diego and we got a 2.5% click-through rate, okay? 97.5% of people couldn't be bothered to click on the ad, but 2.5% did. So they are dramatically more likely to be people who are actually qualified for our services, right? 2.5%. 97.5% of people chose to ignore that ad. They did that because there is something about your message that resonated, especially when we're selling to small businesses here, that, hey, you've got some sort of problem that you need to solve at your business. You have some sort of pain that is being caused by that problem, and you're interested in taking the time to then go and read an article or download a thing or whatever to actually take that first step in potentially solving that problem. Okay, so that's a very important thing, right? Because we've gotten somebody to acknowledge, hey, there's some sort of problem or pain here, right? And then a prospect, okay? So as we're moving somebody further down the pipeline, a prospect is usually somebody then who has engaged further. So they've taken some extra commitment steps. Maybe that's downloading the white paper. Maybe that's attending the webinar. Maybe that's coming to the lunch and learn. There's just usually, this is where if we do lead scoring in our CRM, and high level is not really set up for that, but if you were doing something like lead scoring and you could see that a person clicked on your ad, let's say two people clicked on your ad. One clicked on your ad and then came back 45 days later and read a second blog post, and then came back 60 days later and read a third blog post. And then one clicked on your ad, and over the next 15 days, they read 12 blog posts and watched 7 of your videos, okay? Clearly, that second one, if we could score that lead, we would say, ooh, this looks like a better prospect, right? They're really digging around here. So we would give more attention to them from a sales perspective because they're showing such a high degree of interest, okay? And then there's opportunities. So opportunities, the way I define them, an opportunity is someone who's qualified and shows the need and shows the budget and shows the desire to make a purchase to solve their problem within this sales cycle. So within this sales cycle, I typically call it 30 days. I usually say, hey, in the next month, this is somebody who wants to solve their problem. They're evaluating proposals between us and competitors, that type of thing, and looking to make a decision. Okay. It is very important to note here, so getting into some of the metrics, that the best data I have found is that any given time, only 5 to 7% of the population of small businesses are an opportunity. So within this buying cycle, only 5 to 7% of small businesses are actually looking to invest in something to solve their problem. That's generally across all markets. Okay, so 5 to 7%. That's a really important thing to keep in mind as you are thinking about, okay, how do I have to manage this overall sales and marketing process and my lead generation if I know that there's only 5% of them that are actually in the market right now to make a purchase. The rest of them are up here somewhere, right? They're up here somewhere. Or they're even up here further. They're people who aren't even clicking on the ads. They're the 97.5% of people that apparently have no interest in this at all, right? And then there's your customers, okay? So here is the reality of how this works that is so critical to understand when you're thinking about your overall process, okay? Just to dumb this down a little bit, we have suspects over here and customers over here, okay? What most people seem to have the mindset of is that somebody's going to become a lead and then they're going to become an opportunity and then they're going to buy, and that should happen here in just the next couple of weeks. And if they don't, then that ad didn't work, or that lead was bad, or whatever, whatever version of that you want to believe, okay? And because somebody spent $100 on ads today and got 3 leads and none of them turned into a sale right away, they think that was failure. When if you look at this and you go back to that previous metric that I just showed you, that only 5 to 7% of small businesses out there are even going to be opportunities within the sales cycle, okay? Then you realize that the likelihood that you getting 3 leads and then wanting to buy right now is very, very, very low, okay? So if you're going to be successful at this, you've got to have a realistic mindset and you've got to understand these phases, okay? So first of all, this right here, from prospect to customer. So a prospect is somebody who is qualified and they have engaged with us at the level of they're interested in learning more about our services, right? So this could be somebody who booked a call with you. Again, somebody who came to a webinar with you. Somebody who filled out some sort of survey where they're providing some information saying, yes, this is something that we're interested in getting help with, that type of thing. From prospect to customer is typically 30 to 90 days in B2B services. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I consider an opportunity within 30 days. That's me just trying to manage my pipeline as tightly as I can. But from prospect to customer, okay, 30 to 90 days. And of course, not all prospects turn into opportunities, and we'll go over the specific metrics on this here in just a moment. But that 30 to 90 days is critical because, again, if you've got in your mind that, I'm going to, they filled out the form, I'm going to get them on the phone, and then we're going to close the deal, and that's it, right? Then you are working against the reality of how this works. 30 to 90 days, okay? So back over here on the other side of this, this is also super, super critical. From suspect to lead is completely unknown. And this is why many of you will not invest in that top of pipeline, is because it feels so unknown. And it is, right? You have no idea how many times I get a message from somebody saying, Mike, I just signed up for High Level through you, or I just bought High Leverage Agency through you. I've been binge watching your YouTube videos for the last 6 months. I had no idea who that person was. I had no idea if they were an opportunity in any way at all until I got that message from them. Okay? And that shows you the power of your top of funnel content marketing, right? Because that person was a complete unknown to me. And from the point that they are aware of my content, they're watching my videos, they're, whatever, to the point where they actually become a lead, where they actually raise their hand, opt in, or anything like that, that's a totally unknown time. That could be day one for some prospects. The day they come across a piece of my content, they go, oh yeah, I want to be in here, and they opt in. Or it could be years, right? It could be years. You have no clue. And so a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to do this because I have no clue what I'm going to get out of it. But the reality is that there's got to be just some faith, but also just some logical understanding of the way the world works now, is that there are lots of, the biggest part of your market is out here. The biggest part of your market is out here. And if you are not investing in giving them something to get their attention out here, then you are just cutting off a huge percentage of the possibilities that could eventually become leads, right? So this can feel very unknown, which makes it hard for people to invest in. I get it, but you got to understand that that's where it's all at. That's where it's all at. Okay? Now, once somebody becomes a lead, till the time that they become an opportunity, this can be years as well. It can go anywhere from 1 day to years, right? You will have, the more you do this, the more you will get both of these scenarios. You will get somebody who contacts you today, opts in today, and buys from you like in the next 24 hours. Dude, I just saw your article on X, Y, and Z, or your video on 1, 2, and 3. Man, that's exactly what I've been looking for. I'm so excited. How do I get signed up with you? Right? That will happen. The more you're out there in the marketplace, the more that will happen. And it's such a pleasant surprise. You're like, oh, that was rewarding. That was nice. Why can't they all be that way? And then the longest cycle at my first company, my IT services company, Everon, the longest cycle that we had documented from start to finish, from a lead to closing a customer, was just over 6 years. Just over 6 years from the day that this customer got in touch with us and started, getting pitched by our salespeople and getting our follow-up marketing and all that good stuff, till the day they became a customer, was 6 years, just over 6 years. So, and it was a good customer, great customer, long-term customer, all that good stuff, but it took us 6 years to get them. So that is reality too. I could be interested in your services, but I already have another service provider, but whatever. The not so smart competitors in this industry will not pay attention to any of this stuff because it doesn't have the short-term dopamine hit that they're looking for, right? It's not the immediate exciting win. And so they won't invest in building this and nurturing this. And they will always be scraping for these smaller opportunities or these more immediate transactional opportunities because of it. And their business will struggle because of it, because their competition is building up this huge top of funnel resource that will ultimately just completely overtake the people who are just focused on transaction. Okay, so you've got to understand these realities or you won't invest in the content. You won't invest in the top of funnel. You won't invest in doing the long-term nurturing that you need to do. And you will get frustrated because you ran some ad campaigns, you spent $300 and didn't get a customer right away, and you think it was all a big waste. When the reality is you were just getting started. You were just getting started. Now, you may not have the budget to do that for too long, and so you have to do something within your budget. But the reality is that's your budget. That's the issue. It's not the strategy. Okay? So when we don't understand these things that I just went through, this is where the big mistakes happen. This is where we start looking for that magic bullet. It's going to fix everything, right? The easy button. We expect buy-ready leads, right? So somebody opts in, we expect them to be ready to buy right away. And when they're not, we get frustrated and we stop investing. We grossly underestimate the number of leads that we need because we're expecting them to be buy-ready. And so we're not paying attention to the realistic percentages and realizing, oh, if I want to sign 3 customers today, I need to have 12 opportunities, which means I need to have 25, 30 prospects, which means I need to have probably somewhere around 100 or plus leads that I generated to make those numbers happen consistently. Okay. So understanding the metrics, understanding that length of the sales cycle, using a variety of messages to activate certain people in your audience, at different times, not following up enough again, because you don't understand that long-term cycle, not doing brand marketing, not investing in, anything other than just the transactional approach, too much focus on that short-term ROI. See so many people that stop their advertising because they can't measure the ROI right away. Well, I spent 100 and I can't measure that I got 200. And so they stop marketing. That only makes sense if you're literally selling something that people click on the ad and buy like in a very short period of time. If you have a longer sales cycle, it's harder to measure and requires just some strategic faith in continuing to invest, or you will not get ahead. And then so what you do is you don't do it at all, or you don't do it consistently, right? You take this scattershot approach. I'm going to try this campaign this month, and then that didn't work. And so 4 months later, you try another campaign and that doesn't work, instead of having a consistent process, like I mentioned before. Okay. So continuing on some of the metrics here. This is the average cost per lead in B2B SaaS and services sales. Okay. And this comes from a variety of different resources. Did a bunch of research to try and find the right number for you guys here. This is the average cost per lead in B2B SaaS and services sales. Okay. Does that shock anybody? $189 a lead. Does anybody freak out and go, well, Mike, how in the world am I going to make my business survive if I'm spending $189 for a lead? Okay, I want to go ahead and throw some yeah buts around this, because although this may be the average lead cost, if you look at this number, one, they're measuring all forms of lead generation and creating an average. And they're not basing it on the volume of leads that come from those. So it's not a weighted average. So it's kind of a dumb number. But this is the number that's getting thrown about in the industry everywhere. Okay, so what this includes, as an example, is trade show leads. And the average trade show lead, they said, was like $850. Okay, so that's getting blended into this. So it's that, that's raising the number a ton. And at a trade show, maybe you're going to get 50 leads versus if you run Facebook ads, you could get 5,000 leads, right? But it's not a weighted average. So this is not a great number, but I think it is important to illustrate that one, you've got to know what your cost per lead is, and we at least have to have some decent estimates. And two, it's probably more expensive than you had in mind. I can tell you that, even years ago, when I was doing Google pay-per-click ads to get leads for my IT services business, I think the cheapest I was ever paying was like $40 a lead. And it quickly went up to like $100, $120 a lead. And that was quite some time ago. I've got to imagine now it's a few $100s for a lead for me to get a Google ad lead for IT services in a particular market. It's probably a few $100s is my guess. But again, let's talk about the other thing that's a problem with this is they're saying the word lead, and everybody defines lead in a different way. This is why I try and use my language consistently throughout when I'm talking to you guys, because it's super important that you understand what it is that we're referring to. Here, a lead, if somebody opts into your newsletter after reading your blog post, is that a lead? Okay. Versus if somebody clicks on a pay-per-click ad on AdWords and then fills out a 11 question survey and books a call with you, is that a lead? Right? Totally different levels of commitment, totally different levels of cost necessary to get those people to do those things. So in other words, take this all with a great big grain of salt, but we do have to study the numbers and find out what's realistic so that we can understand what it's going to take to grow. Okay. And then we can create realistic campaigns and strategies and understand what our investment needs to be able to do it on a consistent basis. I've given you what I believe is a much more realistic example in this industry. If you are selling to businesses in your local market, okay, these numbers are going to vary a significant amount depending on what industry you're focused on. So if you say, hey, I'm only focused on plastic surgeons, your numbers are going to be totally different from somebody who's just focused on real estate agents or plumbers or whatever it is, okay? But these numbers on the right-hand side are pretty darn realistic the whole way through. And so you can mess around with a little bit to play with the numbers, but still the point here is important. So let's say that I spent $2,500 on ads, okay? And I got a 2.5% click-through rate, okay? That means that I got 400 people clicking, right? At $625 a click. That's the $2,500 ad spend. Okay. And that gives me like $175 CPM or something like that. So $400, 400 people click on my ads to go to a landing page. Okay. Now, again, this is different if you're sending people to a blog post or something like that, but I'm sending them to a landing page to try and get them to opt in. Okay. So 400 at $625 a piece, $2,500 ad spend, 2.5% click-through rate. 25% of the people then opt in. That's a decent opt-in rate, 25%. So I get 100 leads. These are people who have opted in. They've raised their hand. They said, I'm interested, at $25 each. Okay, so that's $625 times 4, because I got a 25% opt-in rate, $25 each. I reached out to a number of different people just in this last week, a number of different people that I know that are running successful agencies that are spending good amount of money on advertising and stuff like that. And I asked them what they were getting per lead, what their cost per lead was. And I had everything on the low side was $12 a lead to the high side was like $85 a lead. Okay. So, you're going to fall somewhere in that range, and some of it's going to depend on the market you're going after. Some of it's going to depend on the strategy you're using. Some of it's going to depend on how good of a job you do with ads, landing pages, and all that good stuff, right? Then 25% of those people, let's say, 20% of those people are actually a qualified prospect. So I know if any of you have ever run ads to attract small businesses, it can be pretty deflating when you follow up and you realize, oh my gosh, 8 out of 10 of these people are just total duds. Like it's somebody with a business that's not really a business or whatever, right? So let's say 2 out of the 10 are actually good qualified prospects. So we got 20 at $125 each, okay? Going back to that $189 lead number, I think this is really what they're talking about there with that $189 leads. These are people who are actually qualified leads, Okay, so they've actually gotten them to the step of qualifying them to make sure, hey, you actually look like a real prospect. Okay, $125 each. That's not unrealistic at all to spend to get to that point. I've spent way more than that, $250 to get a qualified prospect. That's something I've spent, many, many times. Okay. And then 40% of those are then opportunities. So 40% of those are in that, hey, this looks like somebody who's going to be interested in buying in the next sales cycle. Okay. So that gives us 9 at $278 each. Now we get a 30% close rate, which is a pretty good close rate, right? Say anywhere between 25 and 40%, depending on what you're selling, how you're selling, how good you are at selling. That gets us 3 customers at $833 each to acquire those customers. And that is before salesperson costs. I stress that because if you're going to expand your business and pay salespeople, you're going to have commissions as well, and their salaries and benefits and all that type of stuff. This is just marketing costs. This is just all based on this $2,500 ad spend. Okay. And as well, if you consider yourself the salesperson, right? If you're the salesperson at your business and there's no other salespeople, well, you still want to build in some sort of understanding of your costs because obviously you want to make money. So you should model this as if you're the salesperson and you're going to pay yourself a commission on every deal. Okay. So I share this with you because I think most people in this industry have not gone through the math to understand this is what it takes to get customers. Right? There is nothing unrealistic about this in terms of expecting that you're going to pay $6.25 a click, get a 25% opt-in rate. These numbers are all super realistic based on a whole lot of experience. That $833 in marketing spend to get a customer. But I know for a fact that most agencies are not out there spending $2,500 a month and going, yep, this is what I'm going to do to consistently bring in my customers. They may spend a little bit of money on a campaign, then they stop, then they do a little bit, and they stop. They spend $100 here to test some ads, and they stop. Okay? When the math tells us this is what it is. And this is also, again, building some value in the future because some of these opportunities and prospects that we didn't get business from this month, again, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get business from them next month or the month after that or the month after that. So we are investing in this pipeline as well while we are getting the immediate customers down here, 3 for $833 each. Okay, so that's some math for you. That math works right within the industry standards. The industry standards, and this is using benchmarks provided by venture capital firms who invest in SMB SaaS and all that good stuff. I've done so much research on this space. It's based on HubSpot data, all that good stuff. The average cost to acquire a customer in the SMB space is between $500 and $2,500. Okay, $525 cost to acquire a customer. I put a plus on the end of there because if you're selling something that's higher ticket in the small business space, so by higher ticket, let's say you're selling a $3,000 a month service, right? So like my IT services business, our average customer, around $2,000, $2,500 a month. Plus we would do some project work with them. So that was a higher ticket in the small business space. Our sales costs would be a bit higher because the sales cycle is a bit longer, a little bit more complex. The businesses obviously are about to commit to spending, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a year with us. So that's going to be more expensive to acquire that customer than the $397 package that I'm teaching you to create in the high leverage agency, right? With the $397 package, you're going to be actually more towards the middle in this. Okay, on the low end of this range, that $300 to $500 and $300 or something like that is super, super rare, more like around $500. That's like literally a self-service buyer of a piece of software. So you go and sign up for ConvertKit, right? And you just get on their website. You never talk to a salesperson at all. their cost to acquire you was still around $500 in their marketing that they did and all that stuff to get enough people there to get people onto trials on ConvertKit and then become customers at ConvertKit, somewhere around $500 a customer. Okay, so these are the numbers of the industry. The payback period, okay, this is a benchmark that everybody should be aiming for, is that it should take no longer than 3 to 6 months to then pay back that investment that you're making in acquiring that customer. Okay, so what that means is that if I spent $1,000 to get a customer today, I want to get that $1,000 back within 3 months. So if I spend $1,000 to acquire them and I have them on a $397 service, okay, and that $397 has 80% gross margins, I'm going to be making enough money to then pay back that cost of acquiring that customer within 3 months. I know many of you, most of you maybe, would like to make that money back immediately. And of course, that's an important strategy. And that's something that I cover in my high leverage agency, is how to either pre-sell the year in advance or 6 months in advance, or sell some surge services. We call it surge to SaaS at the beginning, so that you can have enough money to pay for your sales and marketing costs right away. And that's a great model, because then you have cash to grow right away. And I'm sorry, this one is that the lifetime value of the customer needs to be at least 3 times the cost to acquire the customer in order for you to have a viable model. And the bigger that ratio is, the better. So if you're 4 to 1, 5 to 1, whatever it is, even better. But it has to be at least 3 to 1. So again, if you spend $1,000, you need to at least make $3,000 from that customer in order to have a business model that's a viable business model. Okay, these are the key metrics that have to drive your strategy. And if we take all of those metrics and we work them, and I just use this $397 a month price point because it's a common one in the SMB space, and it's one that I suggest that people have in their toolkit, somewhere around that $297, $397, $497, that type of thing. So I just took $397. If you work all that math, then that says that you could afford to spend $1,575 to acquire that customer and still be in good shape. Okay, $1,575 to acquire that customer and still be in good shape. So that is a number that, again, as you are investing in your sales and marketing, I hope that you are keeping in mind that, hey, if I'm investing, for anybody who's ever studied Dan Kennedy, right? Dan Kennedy will tell you that your goal should be to be able to increase this number, right? To be able to be the competitor in the marketplace that can afford to spend more here than anybody else. Why? Because if you can afford to spend more here, it gives you more marketing firepower than everybody else. And how can you afford to spend more here? You can afford to spend more here by doing a better job of monetizing your customer, by making more money from each customer, right? So although, your mindset may be, well, I want to make this number as small as possible. Yes, it would be nice to be able to acquire our customers for the least money possible, but to have the understanding and the ability to spend more if we need it, because we understand our metrics and we understand our business model, is a very, very powerful thing. And most of you are just dramatically undercutting yourself because you won't spend any money to get those customers. And I hope to change that in this process. Okay. Here's some modeling, again, just to show you how this works. And don't pay attention to, no, you can pay attention to all these. I had some other examples too. But this is what most agencies do. Okay, this is the traditional agency model, is you sell some sort of project. I'm going to design your website. It's $5,000. Okay. And you go through some proposal process and all this stuff to sell them. You go and you meet with them a couple times. You put together some mock-ups, that type of thing. You finally sell them. So you have this big, long sales process. And so that range we said was $500 to $2,500. So we're going to go ahead and say this is the most expensive version of that sales process, $2,500. Okay. But most people aren't taking that into account because the agency is just run by the owner and they don't actually calculate sales costs. They just like, oh, it's just my time. I invested. It didn't cost me any money. Too many of you think that way. You're not thinking like business owners. You're thinking like individual operators, and you're thinking, oh, it was just my time, so it didn't cost me any money. That's total BS. That is small business owner thinking. That is not entrepreneur thinking. That is not CEO thinking. Your time is valuable. Your time should be the most valuable, right? So, but too many people operate that way. So they're not actually calculating in their cost of sales. And so they go and they sell that $5,000 project. They had a $2,500 cost to acquire the customer. Their gross margins on that design, 50%, right? They have somebody to help design to do the website. They spent half of their money that they got, half of that 5,000 to have it designed. So they made 2,500, okay? 2,500 covers the 2,500 of their sales costs. So they get an immediate payback period. So they feel all good because they got the 5,000 bucks in their pocket. But then that customer is gone, or maybe they do one more project with them sometime in the next year or whatever it is. Lifetime value of that customer, 5,000 bucks. Lifetime value to cost to acquire the customer, 2 to 1. Okay. So keep in mind, you have to have a 3 to 1 ratio to have a viable model. This is why most agencies struggle. And this is why I told you why they get to the point where referrals and word of mouth, they just get stuck. They don't grow anymore because of this 2 to 1. Okay. They are not at a ratio that's a viable model. Now go back here to the way that I teach you how to sell. Okay. And I teach you how to package your products. And let's just say that in this case, you have a $497 recurring monthly. Okay. And you're right in the middle of that cost to acquire a customer range. You're at $1,500 and you get $1,000 up front. So you charge them some sort of setup fees, some sort of little project fee, whatever it is. Okay. You have 70% gross margins, better than the project agency over here at 50% gross margins because yours is based more on technology from high level. That gives you $348 gross margins monthly. It only takes you 1.4 months to recover your money. And even with a good, healthy 5% churn, the lifetime value of that customer is now $7,960. $796 because they essentially were with you for, over a year or whatever it is, right? And that gives you a ratio of 5.3 to 1. So now you are in a totally different business model. You are in a totally different business model capable of growing much faster than these guys because as we talked about with Charles and Linda earlier, now you have cash that is stacking up monthly recurring. Your business is much healthier, much stronger. You can continue to invest in marketing, right, to acquire new customers. This is how the smart businesses get ahead. This is how I built multiple multi-7-figure recurring revenue businesses, is this exact formula. All right. So those are all of the metrics, and the understanding of those metrics need to create the right mindset to drive the actual tactics that we're going to take regarding our lead generation and filling our pipeline to make sure that we're creating the lead velocity. We've got to recognize and plan for that complete sales and marketing cycle. If we're just exclusively focused on, I got a lead today, now I need to get them booked on my calendar, and now I need to sell them, we are missing the far majority of the sales cycle that we need to invest in, that top of pipeline. Okay? We need to use content to attract prospects that already recognize their pain. Okay? This is one of the most important things to understand about why content marketing is so valuable versus outbound prospecting. Okay, I want you to think about this. If I am outbound prospecting, I am hunting with the odds working against me tremendously, just on the fact that people don't pick up their phone anymore, and I have no idea who I'm calling, why I'm calling, other than it says it's a chiropractor in San Diego, right? I am hunting for somebody that has some sort of pain, right? I need to get a hold of them, get a conversation with them, and get them to acknowledge that they have some sort of pain. That's what I'm doing when I'm doing that outbound prospecting. Like, I am trying to find the needle in the haystack. It's hard work. Versus if I have a bunch of content out there and that content is addressing people's pain, and somebody opts in after reading that content, they have already recognized their pain. That's why they read the content. That's why they opted in. So that lead is immediately high quality to me because they have come in saying, yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down. I'm struggling with that. I need help. That's why I opted in. So it is a totally different approach. And when you build content assets out there that are working for you, and they are pulling people in who have already raised their hand and already recognized the pain, it creates a totally different pipeline value. Okay? So we want to build out those content assets over time. It's not going to be immediate, and I'm going to give you the long-term strategies and the short-term strategies in this boot camp so that you can execute on both, so that you can do things that can get results faster and also the things that build the longer-term asset value, because you got to do both. Okay? Got to eat today, but we got to invest in being able to eat in the future. So market a combo of low-priced offers and the complete system. Okay, this is to try to get as much of a reaction out of your audience as fast as possible, right? So we're trying to put some more attractive, lower priced offers in front of them to get them going, okay? Use paid ads to ensure that we are always pulling people in, okay? Paid ads, every single one of us as entrepreneurs should be looking at paid ads as one of the greatest gifts that ever happened to us. Digital paid ads should be considered one of the greatest gifts that ever happened to you that you can possibly imagine. I mean, yes, you have to spend money on them, okay? But they are so much cheaper and easier and more valuable and controllable than what you used to have to spend money on, which was salespeople, right? Now with these paid ads, we can make sure our content is always out there, pulling people in. Because as we'll show you in our campaign strategies here tomorrow, we can launch paid ads for, let's spend $5 a day, $10 a day, whatever it is. We don't have to spend that much money at all. And that is a far cry from what you have to spend on salespeople, right? And they're just working for us, pulling people in all the time. And that's what they should be doing. We should have them running all the time so that we get that consistent growth in our pipeline, not the sporadic up and down stuff, not the roller coaster. Okay. And then automation, of course, is our other best friend as entrepreneurs, right? And the fact that we can do our automated follow-up and nurturing to keep in touch until they buy or die. Again, we have to recognize that that sales cycle is long in some cases. Some cases it's not. Some cases people buy right away, but in most cases it's long. And so we have to just stay in front of them, stay in front of them, stay in front of them. And when you're sending emails every week to 100 prospects and then 1,000 prospects and then 5,000 prospects, again, your business changes because those numbers are just scaling up, and you're not doing any more work to send an email to 100 people versus 5,000 people, right? It's the same damn work. Okay, and then have a strategy to get upfront cash. We talked about that earlier. The more that you can get that upfront cash, the faster you can continue to invest in all this, because you're not waiting for your money to come in to catch up with your ad spend, right? So if in your sales strategy, you are smart about making sure that you collect upfront cash as much as possible, now you cover the cost of your sales and marketing, and you can immediately continue to reinvest in that sales and marketing, right? So you're never cash starved. Right? So these are the key strategies that we're going to use to lower that CPL, lower that cost to acquire the customer as much as possible while constantly increasing our lead velocity. Okay? Any questions on that? I know I just covered a lot, and I wanted to make sure that I got into the numbers and the realities of the market enough to make sure that I try and do my damnedest to sell you on why you've got to do what you've got to do if you want to grow in this business. Okay? Because if you're not sold on that and you're not convinced on that, then the next time you run an ad campaign and you're deflated, and then you're going to go hunting around for some easy button, some magic, bullet that's going to fix everything, and you're not going to be advertising, you're not going to be consistently working at things, and next thing you know, 4 months have gone by. And that's 4 months that you weren't developing that top of the funnel. And that's a killer. You just set your business back 4 damn months. Okay? That's all there is to it. And there is no way around it. And I'm not saying that you have to spend a bunch of money on ads. I'm not saying that you have to be HubSpot and crank out 10,000 new pieces of content every day. Again, I'm going to show you the as short, simple, concise version of all this as possible in this bootcamp. Okay, that is my goal, is to say, okay, what's the easy button? Damn it, for this, as much as I can. And I say damn it because I don't do easy buttons, but as much as possible, I want to try and simplify this so that you can see that you can do it. It doesn't require a ton of money. It doesn't require a ton of work. It requires work and it requires some money, but not a ton of money, not a ton of work. And guess what? 90% of your competition is not going to do it. So if you just commit to it, do what you can, and then tomorrow when you can do a little bit more, you do it. And then the next day when you can do a little bit more, you do it. And those other agencies have not been doing it for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. You are getting compounding advantages over them. And that's how you win. Okay? I promise you. I promise you. So thank you for being patient while I went through that. I wanted to make sure, like I said, that I laid the case for why you've got to do what you've got to do. Because if you aren't sold on that, you're not going to be committed. And if you're not committed, you're going to stop and start, and it's going to be the roller coaster over and over and over again. Okay? Lois says, in addition to video, what other types of content seem to be working well? Yeah, video is definitely, a hot one, right? For sure. But all kinds of content, blog posts are still working very well, especially in the whole B2B space. Webinars, things like that, right, are working very well. Podcasts, in some cases, are working really well. So podcasts, I'd say more so if you're doing like if you're selling like nationwide or selling globally, because they're much less targeted typically. But I do see, more and more businesses doing the San Diego Small Business Podcast, thing like that. Thank you, Loretta. I appreciate it. Awesome. Good, Dwayne. Good. Paul says humbled. Awesome, Paul. Patrick says, always very interesting when you cover this topic, cost to acquire a customer. I believe it and it makes sense, but my inner voice says it won't cost us that much. Well, look, you proved me wrong, man. I would love to be proved wrong. And look, when I reached out to that agency friend of mine who's getting leads for $12, and I'm like, I got some stuff to learn over there, right? And I did. I had him take me through everything that he's doing, and I get it. And it's not there again. It's not. There's nothing magic to it. I think in his case, it's primarily the market that he's going after is super, super, super accessible via ads. So not all markets are that accessible via ads. So okay. Let's dive back into it here. I got a little bit more I want to take you through here today, including covering the first of these specific strategies, which is outbound sales. Okay, outbound sales. All right, so the roadmap that we're going to go through here in the rest of the boot camp, you need to get clear on who your core customer is. Okay, that is so stinking important, right? Because otherwise you can't create the right message to target them with. Okay. That's step number 2, is to create what I call your power messaging. So these are the key messages that you're going to use to reach them. And we're really just going to focus on this value proposition statement. And if you don't have any of this core messaging or anything like that figured out, I'm going to share with you an example of what I think is a perfectly fine approach to get started with. And then you continue to develop it and refine it over time. You've got to have a foundation sales process in place. And I say what you'll offer them, but really what I mean is how you'll offer them. So in other words, you need to have enough of the process in place and the assets in place that when people hear about you, they can come and get in touch with you. So this is just basic fundamentals. Like if you're using high level, you got to take my snapshot. I'll give you my R4 snapshot. Take it, load that sucker up, have a website with opt-in forms and a scheduling page and stuff like that, right? You got to have that basic stuff set up, or else you can't build that top of funnel. You can't get people opting in, right? So we've got to be just smart about those fundamentals. Okay. But you don't have to have anything fancy set in place to get started either. Okay. So do not delay starting to do your marketing and prospecting if you don't have some fancy whiz bang 900 step sales process set up. Okay. Just get going. Have an opt in, have an option to book on your calendar. Good enough. All right. Then we'll launch the attention relationship. Then we'll launch, the attention engine. Then we'll launch what I call the relationship bridge, which is essentially your remarketing strategy. Again, acknowledging that not everybody that gives us their attention is going to be an opportunity now. We've got to have retargeting to stay in touch with them, just like we stay in touch with them with follow-up newsletters and campaigns, right? And then expand. Okay, then we'll expand. Step 6 is what I'm going to give you at the end of this is a roadmap for, okay, you got the foundation in place. Now here's what you do each week or 2 weeks or whatever it is that you can commit to, but you got to commit to it. Here's what you do to then continue to expand this so that you're building this asset bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. Okay, so that's our roadmap. That's what we're going to go through. I'm just going to fly right through this. Identify your core customer. This is all basic stuff. You have access to this for free in any number of my programs. Okay, so here's how you can pick a niche. Here's what you should document in terms of an avatar to make sure that you understand them. Try and empathize with them, understand them. Again, develop your power messaging. This slide just upgraded because this is an online hosted slide service. And when I upgraded, it killed my image, but there's a value proposition statement that I'm going to give you guys a template for that will show you how to write those value proposition statements. Okay. And then you've got to install that foundation sales process. And again, this does not need to be complicated. You need to have an opt-in form to get their contact information. When they opt in, you need to have a way of presenting the offer. That could be you take them right to an offer page and say, hey, here's our packages. We'd love to, have you sign up. It could be that you have them book a call with you and you have a conversation with them and sell them that way. It could be a combination of the two, even better, right? But you got to have some way of presenting the offer. And then you've got to have some follow-up and nurturing in place to keep in touch with them over time. Okay? That's all you need, though, as a minimum viable sales process to get going. So don't overcomplicate it. All right? And again, if you use my R4 sales system snapshot, I've got a whole sales system built in there for you. Okay. With some updates, actually, we did some updates. I'm excited to show you for this boot camp. I will show you on tomorrow's call. Okay, let's talk outbound prospecting. Outbound prospecting, I pick on more than anything because I think that outbound prospecting is the least leveraged way of growing your business in today's world. Okay. I'm always looking for leverage. I do not want to sit strapped to my computer for 8 hours a day making calls. So I am not a huge fan of doing it anymore, but I did it. I was a machine at it. I built big teams of people doing it very, very successfully for years and years and years, more than a decade. Okay. So I've got a ton of experience in this. And it was very good at it, but it's still not the thing that I do today. That being said, I realized that I needed to do a better job of including this in my training because there are many of you that do not have the budgets to do advertising consistently, or you don't think you do because you don't know my strategies that I'll share with you tomorrow, or you just have very small budgets, to spend on advertising, and you want to do something that gives you the ability to go out and hunt and start generating more business, even though that's the case. Okay. So that's what outbound prospecting is good for. Okay. And we're going to build these three here. Sorry, this one's a little bit out of order here. But the outbound prospecting, there are two kinds of outbound prospecting, warm and cold. I pick up that distinction. I've never really made that distinction before. I pick up that distinction from Alex Hormozi's free training that he rolled out recently, right? I was going through that free training. And he talked about the distinction between warm and cold outbound prospecting. And warm outbound prospecting, meaning that you are doing outbound prospecting to people that you actually, that they know of you and you have some sort of relationship with them already. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have to, be buddies with them or whatever, but there's already some familiarity built there. Okay. And that those people could be much easier for you to prospect to when you're getting started than cold prospecting, because cold prospecting can suck. Cold prospecting can really suck. You have to develop a mindset for it, because you're just going to call and have people hang up on you and be rude to you and tell you to get lost and all that good stuff. It can be very, very, very deflating if you don't have your mindset ready for it. So if you can reach out to people who actually know you and you get a much higher response rate, it can give you a little bit of momentum, right? I have never really made the distinction, and I have never focused on it in my training, because I have never started my business by doing warm outbound prospecting. I have never gone to my friends and said, I'm starting a business, like I've always had the mindset that if I'm starting a business, I need to be able to sell to people who don't know who I am. I need to be able to create a value proposition and a process and everything to be able to sell to complete strangers. And so I just skipped the whole warm prospecting thing. I've never done it. So Alex Hormozy has a little script that he uses. I've actually put together a little script at one point or another. We can cover those real quick. It shouldn't take a lot of time. It's essentially just that you reach out to people that you let them know that you've started a business, and you let them know who it is that you help, how you help them, and then usually some sort of special offer that should be intriguing to help you get some momentum going. Okay. The way that Alex Hormozy does this, I got to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of. So the way that he does it is he tells you should get a hold of the people, you should do some small talk, you should do some warm and fuzzies, laugh at some jokes and things like that, and then essentially loop it back around to, well, the reason why I called is because of X, right? Do you know anybody that could use my help with this, right? I hate any sales and marketing that feels not direct and not completely transparent. I hate it. I've always felt slimy about it. So if you follow my script would be just very direct. I'm friends with Patrick and I'm starting a new business, and I would just call Patrick and I would say, hey, Patrick, it's Mike Cooch. I know we haven't connected in a while, and the reason for my call here, a little bit out of the blue, I understand, but I have started a new business and I was hoping that I could just take a few minutes to tell you about it. No pressure at all. I'm not trying to sell you anything here, but I would just love to, let you know what I'm doing to try and help get the word out. Is that okay? So I would just be that direct about it. And if I was sending an email, I would be that direct about it. Okay. Again, I don't like anything that doesn't seem just very direct and transparent and honest. So you can decide which route you want to go. If you go the Alex Hormozy route, it's a little bit more of a, hey man, it's good to catch up. How's it going, Patrick? Yeah, what's the latest in your life? Oh, I saw on your website you're doing X, Y, and Z now. And oh, good. Well, look, while I have you here, again, it's there's nothing wrong with that at all necessarily. It's just you're kind of doing a little bit of expanded small talk and rapport building to get things going, and that's cool. So whichever approach you want to take, that is warm prospecting. And then there's cold prospecting. Cold prospecting, I can tell you all about. Like I said, is a stinking machine at it. And there's email outbound prospecting, and there's phone outbound prospecting, and of course there's direct messaging on social media, there's direct mail, there's all these other things. But for the most part in today's world, in terms of getting the volume that we want to get and effectiveness and scalability at the right cost, email and phone are our two best options. Okay. And what we are doing specifically is that we are hunting for the prospects that are currently feeling the pain. Again, remember, we are going through that for that needle in the haystack. Okay. We are going for that needle in the haystack. outbound prospecting, let's just be super, super clear about this, because again, your time is valuable, but sometimes you have no cash and you have a lot of time. And so if that's the case, outbound prospecting can be a great way to get started. Okay. I do believe that if you do outbound prospecting as your focus, you have got to be also investing in content marketing. I think this should be done by everyone. I don't care who you are, what you're doing, what your budget is. It does not make sense to me that you would spend 8 hours a day cold calling, but not spend 1 hour then writing a blog post, where a blog post creates an asset for you that can be out working for you every day, 24/7, versus when you're done doing your cold calls, you're done doing your cold calls. And if you're sick tomorrow and you can't make cold calls, no cold calls happen. If you're busy tomorrow and you can't make cold calls, no cold calls happen, right? It makes no sense to not be building that future value by creating a content asset. Everybody should be doing this. Everybody, as soon as you can, should be running ads as well. And if that means that you have to do this to get started, I get it. Just make sure that you are doing it with a plan of, I am going to do content marketing as well, and I'm going to back up all of this with ads as soon as I humanly possibly can. Okay? So that, if you're telling me all you're going to do is outbound prospecting, you're like, Mike, that's just it. I'm just not doing any content marketing ever, not doing any ads ever. I don't want to spend that money. I'm telling you, I think that that is damn foolish. Okay? But again, if you need to get started and you got time and no money, outbound prospecting, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. We'll push if we have to push. Okay? Now, here is what you've got to understand, is that it requires a commitment of that time, and it requires high volume. Okay, you cannot make 10 calls a day and go, oh, I did my outbound cold prospecting. 10 calls a day is nothing. It's nothing. Okay, we average 300 phone calls a day at my businesses doing outbound cold prospecting. 300 a day. And if you look at those numbers that we just went through earlier, you understand why. Right? I mean, 90% of those people, you're not even going to pick up on the damn phone. So just because you made 300 dials doesn't, don't be too proud of yourself. Like, it's not, all you're doing is dialing. You're not actually getting a hold of somebody, right? So, and then of those people that you get a hold of, most of them are going to refuse to have a conversation with you. And then of the ones that have a conversation with you, they're going to find out, I'm not interested in this, right? A very small percentage are actually going to be those targeted prospects. So you got to work within the reality of the math. It requires very high volume. So if you were telling me, oh, on my prospecting this week, I prospected some on Monday. What I'm telling you is this has to be a commitment. If you are prospecting, outbound prospecting is your model, you have to have time on your calendar where your butt is strapped to your chair with a headset on, doing nothing but making calls and sending emails. Okay? And I am telling you that if you cannot look at your calendar right now and go, yep, Mike, I'm blocking out these 4-hour chunks every day to do this prospecting stuff, I'm telling you that you're full of it. You are not going to get ahead. Okay, again, I'm just telling you reality here. Okay, I tell people every time the Harvard story. When I was selling my IT services in Boston, get a call from a couple of guys, say, hey, we're going to need IT services for 35 people. Can you come over and give us a proposal? I said, yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. That's like our size company. They say, awesome, great. You can come before 8 a.m. or after 5 p.m. I'm like, before 8 or after 5? Like, who has meetings before 8 or after 5, right? I'm like, okay, I'll come over right at 5, right? And I figured, well, I'll go meet with them for a little bit and then go out to the bar and have a beer, because that's what people in Boston did after work, after 5. So I go over there and I get there and they're in this fancy office tower, and I go to the whatever floor on this fancy office tower, and I go in and it's completely empty. And it's two guys, and it turns out they're two Harvard MBAs, and they're sitting at a desk, two desks facing each other, both with just computer screens and headsets on, and they're just making calls. I'm like, guys, I thought you needed a proposal for 35 people. Like, what's going on here? Where is everybody? Yada, yada. And they're like, oh, we're just getting started, but we're going to grow fast. We're going to need the people. And I'm like, okay, whatever, right? I hope you're right. These guys knew that their business was 100% based on cold calling, and they were so disciplined that they would do nothing but call from 8 to 5. They would not do vendor meetings. They would not do anything else from 8 to 5. That's all they would do, is sit and make calls. Everything else had to happen before 8 or after 5. These guys were working like 18-hour days. But they knew from 8 to 5 was that was the window of time that they could reach their prospects. And they knew that that was the bottleneck to their growth. And they had the discipline to carve out their schedules and say, you cannot get a meeting with us other than before 8 and after 5. And I admire the shit out of them. And they grew that business so damn fast. I can't remember the name of the company now, but it ended up being a crazy successful business. And it's no surprise why. These guys very clearly had their priorities right, and they executed on the priorities. They were deeply committed to their priorities, and they just blocked out the time to do nothing but make calls. Okay, when I started my IT services business, my business partner and I, this is how old I am. This is pre-Google Ads, and we sat down with cordless phones on his kitchen or on his dining room table with phone books, and we would just sit there and trade back and forth and make calls because we hated cold calling so much that it made us sick to our stomach. We couldn't stand it. But when we did it together, we could make it like a little bit of a game out of it, a little bit of a competition out of it. And then after a while, we got damn good at it because we actually started getting some momentum. We started getting some wins. And then pretty soon we got confident. Pretty soon we started having fun with it. And then we were machines at it. But that was what we would do, is sit down at our kitchen table and just make calls. Okay? It sucks. It sucks to sit down and do that for that long every day. But if you're telling me, Mike, I've got time, I've got no money, and I've got to get ahead, this is a proven way. A proven way. It sucks, but it's proven. Okay? I'm going to share with you resources to do this right. Okay? It's based off what I call the Chase Formula. The Chase Formula is the very first training product I ever offered. I sold, oh my gosh, I can't remember how many tens of thousands of dollars of that training program in the first year. And it's the way to cold call. It's also the way to follow up with leads that have come inbound. It is based off of this company called Velocify, and they studied millions and millions of leads and the follow-up process for those leads, and they determined statistically that this is the ultimate contact strategy. That you call, you send an email, right? You call. That's all just day one. That's all just day one. You're just hitting them over and over again, trying to catch them. Okay, and then day 4, you're sending an email. Day 5, sending a call. Day 8, sending an email. Day 14, call. Day 15, call and email. Day 22, email. Okay, this was statistically the best strategy based on all of these metrics that they had found. Okay, so if you get an inbound lead, somebody subscribes to your newsletter and you follow up with them on the phone immediately, if you call them within 1 minute, you have a 391% higher likelihood of reaching them and getting a conversation with them than you do if you wait 24 hours to call them. That's pretty crazy, right? And if you call 6 times, you are at 93% likelihood of contacting them versus if you call just 1 time or 2 times, you're at 48% and 70%. So doing those additional follow-up calls, okay? And then this is the optimal strategy, again, in terms of the timing of that. So the Chase Formula is based on those statistics and metrics to do exactly that. Okay. I have structured it in terms of the communication at each of those steps, just to make it as easy as possible for you to put together the campaign messaging, so that not every touch point is the same touch point of, hey, I'm just following up. Hey, I'm just following up, right? That's JV selling, right? So I've given these messaging constructs to use, and I have scripts and campaigns all for you guys. So I'll just give you those. But what you're doing is you're essentially following this script structure, right? Day one, hey, I'm calling to introduce myself. I saw they opted in. Or you're cold calling. Hey, I'm calling to introduce myself. My name is Mike. We help chiropractors like yours get more patients, more consistently, hoping to get just 10 minutes of your time, blah, 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 right? Day four, circling back. Hey, it's Mike again. Hadn't heard back from you, but just want to reach back out, blah, blah, blah. Day five, pain plus promise. So now you're starting to get into a little bit more messaging, right? So, hey, Patrick, I know we haven't had a chance to connect, but I just got done working with such and such chiropractor who, when we got a hold of them, they were experiencing a really low show-up rate for booked appointments, and it was really costing them the profitability of their practice. And so what we did is we put in this 3-step marketing system that increased their patient show-up rate by 62% in the first month. I'd love to just have 15 minutes of your time to be able to show you how we did that, right? And then purpose. Okay, purpose is where you're getting more into your purpose story. The reason why we launched these services is, I was in the chiropractic business for a while when I was earlier in my career, and I built one of the most profitable chiropractic practices, but it wasn't always that way. I really struggled at first until I learned about these marketing systems. And then once I did that, I realized, man, I could have a huge impact on the chiropractic community if I shared those marketing systems with other people. And that's how we got here, right? So I'm just giving you examples of these. Positioning is how you're positioned against your competition. Proof, some testimonials, things like that. Potential, you're stressing how your services can help them and change their business. So this is, again, just some messaging structures so that you make sure you're bringing, again, that value, VIP selling, into every touch point, instead of just, hey, I'm just falling back to see if you're ready to buy. Hey, I'm just falling back to see if you're ready to buy, right? That type of thing. So that structure I will provide to you. And then again, this is Chase formula structure. As you can see, in order to do this effectively, you have to have a system to manage this. Okay. So if you are just, again, if your cold prospecting approach is that you're just kind of sitting down and winging it, today I'm going to pick the next 10 people in my CRM and give them a call. And then tomorrow I'm going to pick the next 10 people in my CRM and give them a call. You're just kind of flailing around. You don't have any structure to it. You don't have any strategy to it. You have got to use a system that will allow you to strategically bake in a process where you're getting the right touch points with the right timing, with the right message. Okay. And doing it in multiple channels: phone, email, SMS, voicemail, whatever you want to do. Right now, high level can be used for this. High level can theoretically be used for this. I do not suggest that you use it for this at all. Okay, for two reasons. One, I don't want to see you get in trouble with your domain and your email and your SMS getting blocked, right? And if you're doing cold to outbound prospecting, the reality is you're going to get complaints. Okay. So I really, really, really do not like you using high level for this. What I highly recommend that everybody use is a software tool called Phone Burner. I use this for years and years and years. They do have some very solid competitors now, I believe. So, get whatever looks right for you at the right price point, as long as it's doing the things that it needs to do. These guys, though, I know are very, very, very good. They've been around forever. They've been top in the market forever. This will allow you to put that structure in place, and then it will automate the dialing. It will automate the follow-up emails. It will automate leaving voicemails. It will automate the notes that need to go into your CRM so that you know who you called, when, and what you said. It will easily triple your prospecting output easily. Okay? And the less time you have to do for your prospecting, the more you need to use this. Okay? The less time you have to do for your prospecting, the more you need to get damn serious about using the right tools to make sure that you can actually execute on this approach strategically and effectively. Okay? So phone burner, I want to paint the proper darn. Cold calling is fun. I want to paint the proper picture for you so that you know what real cold prospecting looks like. Okay? Real cold prospecting does not look like, oh, I'm going to sit down and I've got an hour to do cold prospecting. It's when I fit it in here. And so I'm going to pull up high level. Let's see here. I'm going to try and do some sorts and some searches here to see who I haven't talked to in a while and which prospects. Okay, I found one. You know what? Let me go to their website and let me see. Okay, let's pull up their website. Okay, next thing I know, I'm 10 minutes into it and I haven't made a damn call yet. And now I pick up the phone and I call and I don't really have a script, don't really have a strategy. And lo and behold, I don't get anywhere. And then I get that kind of sinking, yucky feeling in my stomach from getting somebody telling me no and hanging up. And so, okay, time to do another one. And then I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm going to come back and research some stuff on the website. And I think I saw that guy that was promoting some scraper tool that will make all this easier for me. I'm going to go get a scraper. Any of this sound familiar to anybody? It should, because I know some of y'all are guilty of it. And I have literally, and I've seen him showing up in my community actually here recently. I'm talking 10 years ago or so when I first started training people in the agency space on how to do outbound prospecting. I literally strapped the guy to a desk in my office, a customer. One of you guys who had been paying me for training and hadn't been following through, and I literally brought him into my office and strapped him down and said, guess what? Training for you today is we're just making calls all day. That's all you're doing. You're sitting here making calls. Okay? And that is what I would do if I were paying you, if you worked for me, right? That's what you'd be doing. So, so look, you're not alone if you are doing it that way. You're not alone if cold calling makes you feel sick to your stomach. It's very common. But we can't let us stop us. Okay? If you are committed to building your damn business and you are committed to that's the way you're going to do it, at least to get started, here's how phone burner works. You're going to go get a list of prospects that are suspect, right? Ideally, you buy a list from a list vendor. Buying a list is not expensive at all. For a couple $100, you can get a list of all the chiropractors in your area, all their phone numbers, addresses, web addresses, email, everything. Okay? You're going to take that list. You're going to load it into PhoneBurner. You're going to load your scripts into PhoneBurner. You're going to load your follow-up emails into PhoneBurner. You are going to do a voicemail recording in PhoneBurner for each voicemail step that you would leave a voicemail, okay? And then you are going to put on a headset. You are going to hit go on PhoneBurner, and it is going to start dialing. And it's going to dial. If it doesn't reach a live human being, it's going to immediately push it into the background and start the process of leaving a voicemail and sending an email like you've programmed it to. And then it's going to immediately leave a note for that account saying, here's what you did. You tried to reach them at this time. They didn't pick up. You left this voicemail. You sent this follow-up email. It's then going to automatically schedule the next call for when it's supposed to happen based on the strategy that you put into place. And then while it's doing all that in the background, it is immediately dialing the next number. And as soon as it realizes it doesn't reach a live human being, it pushes that to the background and immediately starts dialing the next number. So you are literally sitting here strapped to your headset, you hit go, and this thing just starts, it's just cranking. Okay? And sooner or later, it hits a number where an actual human being picks up the phone. And now you got to do your thing. Okay? That's how phone burner works. That's how real outbound prospecting works. Okay? So if your outbound prospecting doesn't look like that, and when I describe that, you go, oh, holy shit, I would be getting a lot more done. Yes. That's why if you're going to do cold outbound prospecting, if you're saying, Mike, this is what I got to do, you damn well better do it that way. Because that's how you get the volume to the point, and that's how you get the discipline, structure, and process in place to follow a strategic approach. Because if you're just relying on you sitting down and I'm just going to start researching some numbers and figuring out some people to call and stuff like that, forget about it. Forget about it. Okay? You are toast if that's your approach. Okay, and Dorn says there is a new app that integrates with High Level to do this. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Even better. So Dorn, if you get the name of that, share it with us. I will absolutely go and check it out and try and get the details on it. Because that would be fantastic, obviously. Okay. That is true outbound prospecting. Okay. And if you do that, here's what will happen. One, you don't need a huge list of people to call on, right? Because you're not going to get a hold of 90% of them on any given attempt anyway. And so when that cycles through and reschedules people, like your day is going to fill up with calls pretty darn quickly. So you don't need like some gargantuan list to call on. You need like a few thousand businesses or something like that. Like if you want to be just like prospecting full time type of thing. Okay. It's not a huge number because you've got so many touch points that you've got to hit them with. Right. And pretty soon, like you'll reach 3 people in a day and you'll reach 5 people in a day. And that's still not a lot of people. It's just not. But those should be opportunities for you to learn. You're going to practice your pitch. You're going to get feedback from people, right? And you are going to get a hold of some people that go, yeah, I'm interested. What do you have to say, right? And you're going to get the opportunity to create some opportunities. And it will work. But it's a little slow and it's a little brutal. That's reality. Okay? So I will tell you that successful cold calling is a massive psychological game. Most people really do get sick to their stomach when they're doing cold calls. Like they hate it. And it is a very, very, very valuable thing to learn to do in your life because it teaches you to get through some of that feeling and still do what you need to do. And when you get good at it, I'm telling you, you are kind of like an entrepreneurial predator with talons and fangs. What I mean by that is, even though cold prospecting sucks, I still believe that once you've learned how to do that, you pretty much have the ability to survive at all times, no matter what. Like I can always just go back to, I can get a hold of people and sell them something. I know I can because I did it for 10 years, right? It's not my favorite approach, but I can. And that builds a confidence in you that is super valuable. It's super valuable. But man, it can be a little bit of a slog getting there. Okay? It's just absolutely the truth. Okay? Yes, if you can cold prospect, you will always eat. That's right. If you run across a business crummy website or look like you could help them, do you reach out to them with your cold script or move on until you can do it right? No, reach out to them with your cold script. Absolutely. And let's talk about the actual scripts here real quick, and then we'll wrap this up because I know we're getting long into it here. But let's talk about the actual scripts here real quick. So I'm gonna go to some scripts. Okay, now this is a phone prospecting scripts and best practices. Those of you in high leverage agency, you have this. This starts with a bunch of introduction to doing cold prospecting. That is a bunch of the background stuff. The scripts are towards the bottom. But man, this is so important to read and absorb. I covered a good amount of it just today in this call, but just the mindset around it of being responsible, knowing your goals, tracking your results, that you have to make time for prospecting every day, that you're gonna get rejected like crazy, that you should have a specific objective for every call. Don't spend time with the wrong prospects. If you are doing cold prospecting, it's already incredibly inefficient. You don't have time to spend time with the wrong prospects. So you got to learn to qualify people quickly and move on. So you want to look for people who are interested in buying today. And I don't literally mean today. You know, again, that it's the sales cycle is still going to take some time. But look for people who are interested in buying today, as in they recognize they have a problem that they need to fix right now, right? And so they're interested in moving forward. Not, I'm interested in learning some more, right? That the sales process establishes the relationship. So don't ever be slimy in your approach to this. There's so many people out there teaching you to be slimy. It's just so stupid if you're in a service business. My gosh, I mean, it's stupid, period. But it's stupid in a service business because you've got to have a relationship with these people. This is not, it's like starting a relationship with someone that you want to marry by doing something scammy, at the beginning. Like, it's just dumb. So get the relationship, treat them with respect, and treat yourself with respect. And then making sure that no single deal becomes too important to you. That is why we're doing this boot camp. Okay. So the logistics of prospecting, already went through all that. So I'm just not going to go through it right now. Now, when it comes to actually going through these scripts and using these scripts, though, it is incredibly important that you practice, and it is incredibly important that you learn to deliver the scripts with confidence, and that takes practice, okay? And so you've got to work at it. Otherwise, you will just sound like a total rookie when you make those calls. And you're going to sound like a total rookie for a little bit anyway. So you just gotta practice it. Okay. There is no magic script. Whatever you say about these scripts that I'm going to share with you here in just a few minutes, I don't care. I don't care if you think they're great or not. I don't care if you think that, there's no clever thing or whatever, and somebody had a clever thing that, you're just 100% convinced that clever thing is going to be better. Awesome. Use that script. Don't care. Been doing this a long ass time. There are no magic scripts. Okay. It's a numbers game. It's math, and it's less about magic and more about just not making the stupid mistakes that get people to hang up the phone on you. Okay. And there are just stupid mistakes that people make. As an example, not practicing, so you're not confident. You're trying to accomplish too much on the call, and the people are like, "Whoa, you just call me out of the blue. Like, we're not going to get married yet." Like that type of stuff. Sounding like a kid when you call them because you're so excited and so nervous. "Hi, this is Mike, and I'm just like to talk to you about blah, blah, blah," right? You speed up, you get all high pitched because you're all nervous. Those types of things are the big mistakes that just cost you, because people immediately identify you as a salesperson and go, "I don't want to talk to this person." Okay. No matter what script you use, no matter how magical it is, the far, far, far majority of people are going to say no. And that's why how you handle brush off objections is the most important thing when it comes to the cold prospecting script. Okay. How you handle brush off objections. All right. And here, I can go ahead and share this with you guys. I will put this in the in the membership area, but I'll go ahead and share this with you guys now here as well. The brush off objection. What is a brush off objection? A brush off objection is when you've cold called somebody, they realize it's a cold call, and they're just immediately just trying to brush you off to get you off the phone. They haven't even given you the time of day yet. They haven't even listened to your message yet, right? If you call me up and I immediately identify that, oh, geez, I just picked up a cold call from a salesperson, and I go, yeah, thanks, but I'm too busy, not right now, right? And they try and go and hang up the phone. That's a brush off. They don't know if they need what you have to offer yet. They don't know anything about you. It's a brush off. How you handle that brush off will take you from getting through to one person to getting through to 3 people. It can literally triple the number of people that you talk to. Not because there's any magic to it, other than the fact that you were prepared and you had a process for getting through that brush off. Okay? That is the only magic about cold calling. Okay? So I'll just give you some scripts here. Okay? Classic cold call script. Hi, this is Mike with Super Duper Marketing. Okay? I know you probably get a ton of calls, so I'll make this brief. We provide, super duper marketing services to chiropractors like yours, helping them increase their patient booking turn-up rate, an average of 27% in the first month, driving 20% more profitability to the bottom line. Let me just ask you a quick question. If I promise to keep your time invested to no more than 10 minutes today, would you be interested in a brief conversation to learn how we can get, how we can improve your patient turn-up rate by 25%, right? Something like that. So I'm just acknowledging, hey, I interrupted you, and I'm going to keep this brief, try and lower the guard a little bit, just be direct with them, lower the guard, say, hey, this isn't going to take too long. Immediately state the value proposition of why the heck they want to listen to you. Ask for what you want. Again, promise that you'll keep it brief. Okay, you can do that in a couple of different ways. I know I interrupted you. I don't want to take any more of your time right now, right? Just keeping it brief. Okay, would you be interested in a brief conversation? That's it. Simple ask. Okay. So that is just a very direct, very straightforward cold call script. Again, nothing magic about it, but it just follows some general good practices of just being direct, being brief, being respectful, and getting right to the point. Okay. Now there's lots of variations, and the variations are important, particularly when you're calling people over and over again. Okay. I told the story recently about the best prospecting guy I have ever worked with in my career. His name was Chip in Boston, and this guy would never call on me unless he had some cool value to add. He always started the conversation with something valuable to add. Okay. And so here are a variety of ways that you could add some value. Okay. So a best practices approach. Okay. We've identified 9 best practices on how you can use SMS campaigns to improve your patient turn-up rate, an average of 27%. Do you have a few minutes for me to share them with you? So what I'm offering to do is share some valuable best practices, right? It could be that you have met somebody that would be valuable for them to know, something like that. It could be that you're sharing a little bit of a case study, right? It could be that there's some new technology or whatever that's come out. Hey, Patrick, you may not know about the new AI chatbot technology that has recently come into the marketplace, or maybe you've heard a little bit of buzz about it, but it is absolutely revolutionizing how chiropractors are able to increase their patient turn-up rate. Do you have a few minutes where I could share with you how that is? Right? So you're introducing something new, something different. Okay. So you can also do cold prospecting to invite people to a lunch and learn, right? So if you're doing a lunch and learn, or you're doing a webinar or something like that, that can be a nice way to cold prospect without it being like just a cold prospecting call, right? So, hey, Patrick, this is Mike from Super Duper Marketing Company. I know you weren't expecting my call. I'll keep this real brief, but my CEO is hosting a CEOs only lunch and learn at Copley Plaza this next month on the 15th. It's going to be limited to 20 other local business owners here in the area and CEOs in the area, and he thought that you would be a good fit to join. It is limited, so I would love to give you any details that I can here quickly and hold your seat if you're interested, right? So now I got something valuable to offer to them. We're doing a lunch and learn. We're doing a networking opportunity. And I can still transition that into a cold call where I get lots of good information about them. So I say, yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and hold my seat. Awesome. Great. Well, while I've got you here, just to make sure that we've got good information on who's coming to the event so we can make sure it's a super successful networking opportunity and connect the right people, can I just ask you a few questions about your business? Sure. How long have you guys been in business? Great. How many, employees do you have? Okay, awesome. What are you doing right now to market your business, grow your business? So I can still do the same qualifying stuff that I might want to do on just a normal cold call. Okay. So you've got a variety of options here that you can use to get in the door with these cold calling scripts. Again, none of them are magic. They're direct. They're to the point. And then let me pull up real quick the brush off scripts. I thought that they were there attached to that, but let me just grab the brush off handling scripts. So the brush off handling scripts are, again, what you do when somebody brushes you off. It is a 3-step formula. It's the only 3-step formula you'll ever need, which is nice. Once you practice it enough, it's just going to be automatic. It will literally be automatic. And it is 1, you agree with them. 2, you restate a version of your messaging. And 3, you ask a question, move the conversation forward. Okay? So I give you a call. I say, hey, Mike, hey, Patrick, this is Mike with Super Duper Marketing. What we do is we, use SEO best practices to get you ranked higher in the search engines and generate more leads. Patrick says, yeah, I'm not interested. And I go, that's exactly why I'm calling. Look, I would say a majority of my client relationships have started this exact way because I know you're a busy business owner and you have absolutely no interest in SEO, which is why we take care of that stuff for you. Let me ask you, when was the last time you had somebody take a look at how you're doing in the search engines compared to your competition? Okay, so I agreed. That's exactly why I'm calling. I know you don't have any interest in this. No busy business owner has any interest in this dumb marketing stuff. That's why we do it for you. Let me ask you, when was the last time you had somebody else take a look at your results in the search engines for you? Okay, that's exactly why I'm calling. It's a great script. So, go through, right? 5 most common ones. I'm not interested. Just send your information. We're already taken care of. I'm too busy. Don't have the time. We don't have the money budget. Okay? I'm not interested. That's no problem. I have a drawer full of clients that told me the same thing when I first called them as well. In fact, I'll put you in touch with some of them if you want. But the point is, if you're like most people I speak with, you're having trouble with X, Y, and Z, let me ask you, if I can show you how you can, blah, 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 wouldn't be worth a few minutes to find out. Okay? Now, keep in mind, I said that you're going to get in touch. You're going to at least get some sort of response and at least a brief conversation with 3 times as many people by using these brush offs. That still means you're going to get hung up on 2/3 of the time. So don't expect that this is just, again, some magic thing that all of a sudden you're going to get through to everybody. It's not, but you are going to get through to quite a bit more just if you're prepared, right? Because they did that brush off. And then you didn't just go away. You didn't just give up on the brush off because you're a professional and you're prepared, right? So just send your information. I'd be happy to send the information to you. Before I do that, let me just make sure I get a little bit more information to ensure that I'm sending the right information to you. And then you go through and you start asking your qualifying questions. I agree with them. Absolutely. I'd be happy to send you the information. Okay? And then ask your questions. Right? Let's see here. Somebody says, I'm not really, this is just a different version of it. We're already taken care of. Happy. That's awesome. I'm glad you're taken care of right now. It shows me that you're making good investments in your marketing and your business. Let me ask you something, right? Have you ever found necessary to find another vendor? So these are just, again, a 3-step approach to, respond with an affirmative, agree with them, restate your value proposition, ask another question to keep the conversation going forward. I would say I'm not interested and I'm too busy are the two most common ones you're going to hear, right? I'm too busy. I don't have the time. I know the feeling. That's exactly why I'm calling. That's exactly why I'm calling is such a great one for both of these, because if you call a business owner and you want to talk to them about marketing systems and stuff like that, right? And they go, yeah, I'm too busy. That's exactly why I'm calling, Charles, because I know you are too busy as a business owner to deal with this stuff, and it's costing you, just like it's cost some of our other clients that we work with until we get these systems in place and we get an average of 25% growth for them in the first year. Let me ask you, how would it benefit your business if you had a system to automatically follow up with every new prospect that guaranteed that you would actually get in touch with them and get, a conversation with them on your calendar, right? So I agree. You're so damn busy because you're a business owner. That's exactly why I'm calling, because you don't have the time to invest in understanding how to set up these marketing systems. That's what we do, right? So that is just a super simple formula that when you practice that, it just rolls off of your tongue. Okay? It just absolutely rolls off of your tongue. Just super, super simple. It becomes automatic. But again, what you're doing is you're just brushing off their brush off. Okay? That's all you're doing. You are brushing off their brush off. They thought that they were going to be able to brush you off. You're just brushing them off and saying, no, you can't brush me off that easily. Right? That's all you're doing. And it's a pattern interrupt. They then go, oh, what? It just buys you that extra second or two. And then you ask them a question. It's an open-ended question. It's not a yes or no question. A percentage of people, when you ask them that question and you've pattern interrupted them, are just going to respond to the question. Like they're not going to just like, no, you big jerk, like get off the phone. I tried to brush you off, right? They're going to hear your question and you're going to ask them something like, hey, when was the last time you had an audit done of your SEO rankings to show how you're doing compared to your competition? Right? I don't know. It's been a long time. Yeah, I understand. That's what most people tell us. Well, look, again, I know I didn't want to take up too much of your time today. As a next step, what we could do for you is we could put together a complimentary audit where it shows you the value of being on page one in Google in your market here for some of the most competitive keyword terms and where you're currently at in those rankings and how we could improve it. That's no cost to you. Would you be interested in us doing that for you? Yeah, sure. That sounds good. You've carried on the conversation, right? And again, it's not going to work even half the time, but it's going to work a lot more than if you don't have a brush off to their brush off. Okay? So that's the second set of scripts that you really have to master when it comes to cold prospecting. You've got to have that initial call script just to get going. And then you've got to have the brush off prepared because you're going to get brushed off most of the time. Okay? Do you have one or do you have someone you've done this for? Do you have one or do you have someone you've done this for? I'm not sure what that question is. David, I'm not sure what you're referring to there. If you want to rephrase that, you can put that in here. And then also, I will go ahead and put the invite link. If anybody wants to get on and chat with me, you are welcome to do so. I know that we are running pretty darn late here. I appreciate that the far majority of you are still here. And I hope that this was valuable for you. Let me just, while any of you are considering if you have any questions or anything like that, tomorrow we are going to move on to content and ad strategy, content ads, lead magnets, and setting up the specific campaigns to make this as easy as possible for you. Okay. Today, this cold prospecting stuff. Okay. There is not a whole lot more to it other than get your phone burner tool, or whatever comparable one you want to get, load in the campaign strategy following the chase formula approach that I have for you. I have this in High Leverage Agency. I'll give you the documents as part of this training that have the scripts, things like that. You load that into the tool, you buy yourself a list, and you sit and you do it, and you don't stop for. I love what Alex Hormozy proposed in his thing. You commit to anything that you say that you're going to do. You do it for 100 days and do not stop. You refuse to stop for 100 days. I like that. I've always said 3 months. That's close enough to 100 days. Okay, whatever it is, you do not stop. You make the commitment that that is what you are going to do, and you do not stop for 100 days. Okay? If you do that, I promise you, your business will be on a totally different trajectory if you actually do what I just told you there to do. Okay? Thank you, Robert Brennan. I appreciate it. Dave, I see you back there. You want to give me a wave in the hand, telling me you're okay to come on camera? All right, awesome. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How can I help you?
So I got this question just today about, so I was pitching, I hear the echo. I
Oh, you
need
probably have
to,
me open still in the presentation in another
I
browser. You just
do,
need to
yeah.
go
Let me,
mute that.
yeah, it's muted.
Oh, now I think you muted, you turned off the one with your camera though, but I can still hear you.
Okay, am I back?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Okay, so it's still echoing here. It's probably the mic on the iPad too that's picking up. Okay, so anyway, I asked this question. I've got this customer who I'm pitching a service to, and she asked me if I had someone else who I've done that particular service for.
And you haven't yet? Is that the issue?
Correct. It's new.
Yeah. So yeah, I think so. If you're in that position that you're like, hey, I haven't done this for anybody yet, and you're getting that pushback and you're getting stalled on that, I would be prepared if I were you to do what it is that you're planning on doing for a few customers and make them some sort of super sweetheart deal, acknowledging that you're just getting started. So
Okay.
if I were calling and let's say I'm rolling out a brand new service that I've never done before, I would call prospects. I would make my pitch, and then I would say, well, look, we're just rolling out this service, so we've got a killer deal for you. We're looking for businesses that would be our first case studies and testimonials. And so what we're going to do is we're going to waive our first 30 days of fees. And we're going to set this up and do everything for you at no cost. The only commitment that we're asking from you is that you actually commit to working with us on this to get it done. And then at the end of that 30 days, if we've done a good job, that you agree to be a testimonial for us. And assuming that, this is a good fit for your business, that you continue to be a paying customer then after that. So I would just have a pitch like that where it's just like essentially, hey, look, we'll do this for free. We're looking for five companies here in the area we can get started with, and just like do everything that you can to get in the door there and make that initial, get that initial experience. I always just tell people that if you're going to do something for free, you always get something when you're giving something like that. So make sure
Mhm.
you're getting the testimonial, make sure you're getting the commitment that, and look, obviously we can't do this if you don't have any intention of being a long-term customer with us. So if your intention is you're just going to set this up and then 30 days later cancel us, please don't do it, because obviously that would be very costly for us and we're just trying to get started. But if you think that this is something that your business would like to take advantage of, then we'd love to work with you. No obligation, obviously. If we don't fulfill our promises, then you can cancel the service. So
Does it
that's
matter if it's a high ticket or low ticket item?
what's an example of a high ticket. Give me an example.
1,000, 2,500
But what's the
versus.
service that you're doing? I'm more concerned about the service delivery.
So the service isn't super unique. It's reputation building, but it's building reputation quickly, and it's low ticket. It's $300 a month.
I
And
so
I have done reputation building, but just not with Yelp particularly.
Yeah. So I the only reason I was really asking was because oftentimes when people say high ticket, they're referring to some sort of service type where they're actually going to invest like a lot of their manual labor to get it done, a lot of their time and
Oh,
talent to
okay.
get it done. And so I would never do that kind of service for free personally.
Right.
Versus if I was, so like I'm not going to design somebody's website for free.
Right.
If designing the website takes a lot of my time and talent. Now, if designing the website is you use high level templates, you fill in custom values, and you can launch a website in 2 hours, but to them it seems like, oh wow, you
Mhm.
just did a really nice job designing this beautiful website for us, then that's great.
Okay.
So as long as the service has some leverage to it, I would figure out a way that I could do it for them for free to start. If it's a real low price service though, you shouldn't have to do anything for free for the most part. You should be able to just sell them on it. Hey, like it's very low risk. If we don't fulfill
That's what
on
I'm
our side,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah, we'll just refund you your money. So but I would get some sort of commitment from them. That's the thing. You always want to get that commitment if you're going to give your services at no cost for a period of time.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you being here. Let's see here. Patrick, for cold emails, can I safely use a custom subdomain on my domain within high level, or should I use an external cold email software program? I am of the opinion that you should use an external cold email program. Okay, reply.io is my favorite. Reply.io. I'll pull that up right here. And reply.io does more than just cold email now, but this is still what I think of them as a cold email platform. But they're awesome. Again, awesome. And they do things right. They do not just spam the heck out of everybody. They put limits on the number of sends that you can send in a day and things like that. They're a good legitimate software tool. I would use them or somebody like them so that you do not burn anything in high level. Okay, I am not a fan at all of you using high level to do any sort of high volume cold prospecting. Okay, that is my 2 cents worth. Awesome, thank you very much. So yes, I would use the external tool, and Reply is a fantastic one. Okay. Any other questions you guys have? Let me know. I appreciate you staying with me. I know, like I said, today ran long, but first time doing this, want to make sure we get through it all and answer any questions and stuff as well. So, but what we'll do then, it looks like we'll start to wrap it up. So tomorrow we're going to go through the campaigns, okay? And get you squared away on how to run simple attention engine campaigns that are not going to cost you a ton of money. You don't have to be an ad guru at all to set them up. I will walk you through the exact setup so that you can replay the video over and over again if you want to. Super, super simple, okay? And I will walk you through the setup of the retargeting campaigns, and we'll talk about lead magnets as well. Again, no silver bullet. I've been calling that a magic bullet, haven't I? Yeah, no silver bullet, magic button. Anyway, whatever. When it comes to the lead magnets, but I will share with you what is working, and I will share with you the variety of approaches that you suggest, and how you can kind of scale this up over time. Okay. And awesome. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. And Paul says content creation looks good compared to cold calling. I mean, I sure think it does. So I will tell you the challenge with content creation, and we'll address this tomorrow, but it's important to call this out. The challenge with content creation is if you follow the old playbook of just doing like, oh, I'm going to write like good SEO content and get ranked in the search engine, so I start getting traffic and generating leads, that can take a long damn time. Okay. And that's why it can be very frustrating, and people just want to do cold prospecting. So I can just, hey, like outbound prospecting, let me find somebody now. So the way that we solve this is super easy. Paid ad campaigns. right? You write that awesome blog post, and then you don't just sit and hope that the search engines pick it up. What you do is you spend $5 promoting it to your audience so that people see it, right? So that way you can get the outbound effect, but using content instead of calls, right? Make sense? Instead of doing a cold call, I write an awesome blog post, LinkedIn post, whatever, record a video, and then just boost it with a little bit of money to make sure it's actually getting in front of my audience instead of doing cold calls. Same thing. It's like outbound content marketing, if you will. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. Okay? Thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate it. Can you run through a test account or domain to test different snapshots? Can you run through using a test account or domain to test different snapshots? KL, do me a favor. Post that one in the group after this call is over so I can understand exactly what you're asking, and then I can try and address that tomorrow. Okay? Thank you, sir. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great night. That is the day 1 of Attention Engine Bootcamp. We will see you back here tomorrow for day 2. We're going to go through those campaigns, content structure, how to put together winning ad campaigns, how to use content strategically, how to do that outbound content marketing. Okay. And we will knock it out tomorrow. Okay. 1 p.m., same time, same place. Awesome. Thank you so much, Charles and Linda. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.